Hello there, and welcome to the Sleeping Science Bedtime. Tonight, we'll drift through the quiet architecture of the solar system, a place where gravity is the silent language of the stars, and where time moves in long, circular breaths. Perhaps the day has been full of noise, and your mind is still vibrating with the echoes of many small tasks. Let your shoulders rest now. Let the weight of your body sink into the bed, trusting that gravity is holding you just as surely as it holds the planets in their tracks. Tonight, we'll witness the slow, rhythmic dance of stone and gas, finding peace in the vast, predictable laws that govern our local corner of the deep. If this calm space brings you peace, consider sharing it. It helps other wandering minds find their way here too. Now, let's begin. The sun sits at the center of your awareness, a massive, glowing heart that beats with the steady rhythm of nuclear fusion. It is a sphere of unimaginable grace, composed of hydrogen and helium that hums with a deep internal resonance. You feel its warmth as a gentle presence, a constant pressure of light that pushes out into the cold dark. Everything in this system, from the smallest grain of dust to the heaviest planet, is connected to this golden anchor. It provides the light that travels through the void, reaching out to touch everything with a soft, persistent glow. Around this center, the space is not empty, but filled with the invisible tension of a tether. And still, it turns. You watch. As the solar wind flows outward, a stream of charged particles moving like a silken ribbon through the vacuum. This wind is the breath of the sun, carrying energy and magnetism to the farthest reaches of the heliosphere. It moves past you with a quiet strength, invisible but felt in the way it shapes the space around it. The light takes 8 minutes to reach the first world, traveling across the distance with a patient, unhurried speed. You're observing the very beginning of order, where fire becomes the architect of a stable and enduring home. The heat is intense near the core, but here, in the narration of the night, it feels only like a distant, comforting hearth. Beneath the solar atmosphere, the magnetic fields twist and braid themselves into complex, beautiful patterns. These lines of force are like the grain in a piece of ancient wood, guiding the flow of plasma in long, arching loops. You see these loops rise and fall, returning to the surface with a heavy, silent grace that defies the scale of their motion. There is no sound in this vacuum, only the visual music of the light as it shifts from white to gold to deep, glowing red. The sun is the primary keeper of time, marking the seconds with the vibration of its atoms. Every movement here is part of a larger balance, a state of hydrostatic equilibrium where gravity and pressure find a perfect, lasting peace, and the quiet holds. Moving outward from the solar fire, you encounter Mercury, a small, scorched world that keeps a lonely vigil near the light. It is a sphere of iron and silicate, its surface covered in the scars of 1 billion ancient impacts. You see the long shadows stretching across its craters, moving slowly as the planet performs its slow, eccentric rotation. There is no air here to soften the transition between light and dark, so the boundaries are sharp and clear. Mercury moves quickly in its orbit, a tiny, determined spark racing against the pull of the sun's massive gravity. It is a testament to resilience, a heavy core wrapped in a thin layer of stone, enduring the heat with a silent, steadfast dignity. You notice how the planet's surface is wrinkled, like a piece of fruit that has dried and shifted over the eons. These great cliffs, or lobate scarps, tell the story of a world that cooled and contracted, pulling its crust inward. You feel the stillness of this process, a geological exhaling that took millions of years to complete. Mercury is dense and heavy for its size, a heart of iron that speaks of the intense heat of the early system. It is a world of extremes, yet in your observation, it feels balanced and settled in its proximity to the furnace. The rhythm of its days is long, a slow unfolding of sunlight and starlight that repeats without variation, and life adjusts once more. Next, you drift toward Venus, a world veiled in a thick, shimmering blanket of clouds that reflect the sunlight with a brilliant, pearly glow. Beneath these clouds, the atmosphere is heavy and warm, holding the heat in a constant, unmoving embrace. You see the tops of the clouds moving in a rapid super-rotation, circling the planet in a matter of days, while the surface below turns at a much slower pace. The air is a dense fluid of carbon dioxide, pressing down with a weight that feels like the deep ocean. It is a greenhouse of gold and copper hues, where the sun's energy is captured and kept in a perpetual glowing cycle. Venus is a sister to the Earth in size, but it has chosen a path of intense, atmospheric focus. You observe the volcanic plains that stretch across the Venusian surface, where ancient lava flows have smoothed the ground into vast, dark ribbons. The mountains here are tall and steep, rising up into the hazy light like islands in a sea of thick air. There is a strange, muffled peace in this world, where the wind at the surface is only a gentle, heavy stirring. The light that reaches the ground is filtered and soft, casting everything in a warm, dim orange glow. You feel the immense pressure as a grounding force, a weight that anchors the world against the vastness of the space above. Venus turns in the opposite direction of its neighbors, a slow, rebellious rotation that adds to its mysterious charm. The rhythm continues. Getty Images. Further out, you find the Earth, a blue and green marble suspended in the velvet dark, wrapped in a thin, protective layer of nitrogen and oxygen. From this distance, you see the weather systems swirling, like cream in coffee, white clouds tracing the paths of the hidden winds. The oceans are a deep, resonant blue, holding the vast majority of the world's thermal energy in their liquid depths. You feel the familiar pulse of this world, the way it breathes through its forests and circulates its waters in a never-ending loop. It is a place of liquid water and stable temperatures, a rare pocket of equilibrium in the harsh environment of the cosmos. The Earth is a living library of chemical reactions, all occurring within the safety of its magnetic shield. You watch as the moon orbits the Earth, a pale, silent companion that tugs at the oceans with its invisible hands of gravity. This tidal dance is a source of stability, keeping the Earth's axis tilted at just the right angle to ensure the regular return of the seasons. The moon is a mirror of the Earth's past, its cratered face recording the history of the debris that once filled the early solar system. You feel the connection between these two bodies, a gravitational resonance that has lasted for billions of years. The light of the sun reflects off the moon's dusty surface, casting a soft, silver glow back onto the dark side of the home world, and everything rests. Beyond the Earth lies Mars, the red planet, a world of rust-colored dust and towering, extinct volcanoes. You see the thin atmosphere, a pale pink haze that clings to the surface, allowing the cold stars to shine through even during the day. The ground is covered in iron oxide, giving the landscape its distinctive, warm hue that contrasts with the deep shadows of the canyons. Valles Marineris, a canyon system that could stretch across a continent, marks the surface like a great silent scar. You feel the stillness of a world that once held running water, its ancient riverbeds now dry and filled with drifting sand. Mars is a world in transition, a quiet reminder of how environments shift over the long scales of cosmic time. You observe the polar ice caps of Mars, where frozen carbon dioxide and water ice grow and shrink with the changing seasons. This cycle is a slow, rhythmic pulse, a white frost that advances and retreats across the red soil. The wind here is thin but persistent, carving delicate ripples into the dunes and lifting dust into high, wispy clouds. You feel the cold, crisp air of the Martian night, where the two small moons, Phobos and Deimos, race across the sky like stray pebbles. Mars is a world of quiet potential, its minerals and chemistry waiting under the dust for the touch of a future that has yet to arrive. The gravity here is light, making every movement feel effortless and airy, and the quiet deepens. Now you move into the asteroid belt, a vast ring of debris that marks the boundary between the inner and outer worlds. Here, millions of stones of all sizes drift in a perpetual silent orbit, held in place by the competing tugs of the Sun and Jupiter. You see Ceres, the largest of these bodies, a dwarf planet with a mysterious white spot that glows like a beacon in the dark. The asteroids are the leftovers of the system's creation, the raw materials that never quite gathered into a single world. They move with a slow, dignified grace, rarely colliding, but always aware of each other's presence. You feel the texture of these ancient rocks, pitted, dusty, and rich with the metals forged in the hearts of dead stars. The space between the asteroids is vast, much larger than one might expect, creating a sense of immense, open solitude. Each stone follows its own mathematical path, a unique trajectory that has been calculated by the laws of motion over eons. You see how the gravity of the giant planets shapes this belt, creating gaps where no asteroid can linger for long. This is the realm of orbital resonance, where the timing of one world affects the position of thousands of smaller ones. It is a delicate, invisible architecture, a web of influence that keeps the belt in a state of dynamic stability. You feel the ancientness of these rocks, which have remained largely unchanged since the birth of the Sun. The current flows, without effort. Emerging from the belt, you encounter Jupiter, the king of the planets, a massive sphere of swirling gas and liquid metal. Its colors are a tapestry of ochre, tan, and cream, arranged in long, horizontal bands that represent the planet's powerful jet streams. You see the Great Red Spot, a storm 3 times the size of the Earth, which has been spinning for centuries with a slow, hypnotic power. Jupiter is so large that it acts as a second sun in some ways, emitting more heat than it receives and guarding the inner system with its massive gravity. You feel the hum of its powerful magnetosphere, a field so large it stretches all the way to the orbit of Saturn. Deep within Jupiter, the pressure is so intense that hydrogen becomes a liquid metal, conducting electricity and generating the planet's vast magnetic field. You feel the weight of this atmosphere, a thick, fluid embrace that becomes denser and denser as you descend toward the core. There is no solid surface here, only a gradual transition from gas to liquid, a seamless blending of states that reflects the fluid nature of the universe. The clouds are made of ammonia and sulfur, creating the vibrant colors that decorate the planet's outer layers. Jupiter is a world of motion, a giant engine of weather and magnetism that never sleeps, and the quiet holds. Around Jupiter, a miniature solar system of moons plays out a complex gravitational ballet. You watch the 4 Galilean moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, as they dance in their synchronized orbits. Io is a world of fire and sulfur, its surface constantly reshaped by volcanic eruptions caused by the tidal squeezing of Jupiter's gravity. You see the plumes of ash rising into the vacuum, falling back to the ground like colorful snow. Europa, in contrast, is a world of ice, its smooth, cracked surface hiding a deep, global ocean of liquid water. You feel the tension between the heat of the interior and the cold of the shell, a balance that may harbor the building blocks of life. Ganymede, the largest moon in the solar system, has its own magnetic field and a surface of ancient, dark ice, mixed with younger, brighter terrain. You see the ridges and furrows that tell of a long history of tectonic activity, a world that has moved and shifted under the influence of its giant neighbor. Callisto, the outermost of the 4, is a heavily cratered ball of ice and rock, its surface unchanged for billions of years. It is a silent witness to the history of the Jupiter system. Its ancient scars a record of every impact it has endured. You feel the harmony of these 4 moons, their orbits locked in a 1-2-4 resonance that ensures they never drift out of place. The rhythm of the deep endures. Moving further out, the light of the sun begins to dim, becoming a bright, distant star that still manages to hold everything in its grip. You approach Saturn, the most beautiful of the giants, famous for the magnificent system of rings that circle its golden equator. The rings are composed of billions of pieces of water ice, ranging from the size of a grain of sand to the size of a mountain. You see them as a solid disk from a distance, but as you get closer, they resolve into a complex structure of thousands of individual ringlets. The light of the sun catches the ice, making the rings glow with a pure white radiance that contrasts with the pale yellow of the planet. The rings are held in place by shepherd moons, small satellites that use their gravity to keep the ice particles from drifting away. You feel the precision of this arrangement, a mechanical perfection that seems almost intentional in its design. Saturn itself is a world of low density, so light that it would float in a giant ocean if one were large enough to hold it. Its atmosphere is similar to Jupiter's, with long bands of clouds and powerful winds that reach incredible speeds. You see the hexagonal storm at the planet's north pole, a geometric wonder of fluid dynamics that has persisted for decades. Saturn is a world of grace and symmetry, a jewel in the crown of the outer system. Still, the universe breathes. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, is a world of thick, orange haze and lakes of liquid methane. You see the surface through the clouds, where mountains of ice and dunes of organic dust create a landscape that is both familiar and alien. The atmosphere is dense and nitrogen-rich, much like the early Earth, but the temperatures are far colder. You feel the slow fall of methane rain, a gentle drizzle that feeds the rivers and carves the valleys of this frozen world. Titan is a place of slow chemistry and hidden depths, where the laws of physics create a mirror image of our own world using different materials. It is a moon that feels like a planet, possessing a dignity and complexity all its own. As you drift past Saturn, the silence of the vacuum becomes even more profound, the distances between the worlds growing ever larger. You are now entering the realm of the ice giants, where the chemistry of the system shifts toward water, ammonia, and methane ices. Uranus appears as a pale, featureless turquoise sphere, its color the result of methane in its upper atmosphere absorbing red light. Unlike the other planets, Uranus rotates on its side, rolling along its orbital path like a ball. You see its thin, dark rings and its collection of small, icy moons, all orbiting at a steep angle to the rest of the solar system. And silence follows. The tilt of Uranus is thought to be the result of a massive collision in the distant past, a moment of chaos that gave way to the current, peaceful order. You feel the cold, quiet energy of this world, which lacks the internal heat of its larger cousins. Its atmosphere is the coldest of any planet, a place of cryogenic stillness, where the winds still move with surprising force. The moons of Uranus, named after characters from Shakespeare and Pope, are worlds of dark ice and deep canyons. You see Miranda, with its jagged, mismatched terrain that looks as if it were broken apart and put back together by a clumsy hand. Further still is Neptune, a deep, vibrant blue world that marks the outer edge of the major planets. It is a place of supersonic winds and high-altitude clouds of white methane ice that streak across the azure sky. You see the Great Dark Spot, a storm similar to Jupiter's, moving through the atmosphere with a silent, powerful grace. Neptune is a world of intense internal heat, which drives the most violent weather in the solar system, despite its great distance from the sun. You feel the energy of this world, a restless, churning strength that lies beneath its calm blue exterior. It is a sentinel at the edge of the dark, a cold giant that guards the transition to the outer reaches. And the rhythm continues. Triton, Neptune's largest moon, is a world of nitrogen geysers and cantaloupe-textured terrain. It orbits Neptune in a retrograde direction, opposite to the planet's rotation, suggesting that it was once a stray object captured from the Kuiper belt. You see the plumes of dark material rising into the thin atmosphere, carried by the wind across the frozen plains. The surface is incredibly cold, covered in a frost of nitrogen and methane that reflects the dim sunlight. With a pale, ghostly glow, you feel the isolation of this moon, a captured traveler that has found a permanent home in the gravity of the blue giant. Triton is a bridge between the worlds we know and the mysterious reaches that lie beyond. Beyond Neptune, the solar system opens up into the Kuiper belt, a vast frozen frontier of icy bodies and dwarf planets. You see Pluto, once considered the 9th planet, now recognized as a complex world of nitrogen glaciers and mountains of water ice. Its heart-shaped plain, Tombor Regio, is a smooth expanse of frozen gas that glows brightly in the dim light of the distant sun. You feel the quiet of this outer realm, where the sun is just a very bright star and the shadows are long and deep. Pluto has 5 moons of its own, the largest of which, Charon, is so big that the two bodies orbit a common center of gravity. The rhythm of the deep endures. The quiet of the Kuiper belt is a different kind of silence, a crystalline stillness where time seems to stretch and freeze. You observe how Pluto's thin atmosphere expands and contracts as it moves along its elongated, tilting orbit, breathing in the rare warmth of its closest approach before exhaling back into frost. The mountains here are made of water ice, frozen so hard they possess the strength of granite, rising miles high into a sky that is almost black. You feel the slow, rhythmic pulse of this distant world, a place where nitrogen flows like glaciers across a plain of frozen carbon monoxide. It is a world that defies the cold, showing a face of constant geological renewal, and the quiet holds. Beyond Pluto, you encounter Eris, a world of brilliant white, covered in a layer of frozen atmosphere that reflects the sun like a mirror made of salt. It is slightly smaller than Pluto, but more massive, a dense ball of rock and ice that takes over 500 years to complete a single journey around the sun. You see the extreme loneliness of this orbit, reaching far above the plane of the other planets into the empty high country of the solar system. The light here is so faint that it would barely cast a shadow, yet gravity still speaks to Eris, keeping it tethered to the center. You feel the patience of this world, a sphere that waits centuries for the seasons to turn. The Kuiper belt is populated by thousands of these cold, classical objects, remnants of the original disk that formed the planets. They are the pristine archives of our history, untouched by the heat or collisions of the inner system. You see them as dark, reddish stones, their surfaces coated in complex organic molecules called tholins, created by the slow action of cosmic rays on ice. These objects drift in nearly perfect circles, a testament to the stability that can exist at the edges of a great system. You feel the peace of this preservation, a warehouse of ancient materials held in a state of cryogenic grace. Each one is a silent sentence in the story of how we began. And still, it turns. Shutterstock. Now, you let your perspective widen, stepping back to see the solar system not as a collection of parts, but as a single, breathing organism. From here, the sun is a brilliant spark, and the orbits of the planets are like the rings in a great tree, marking the passage of 4.5 billion years. You see the invisible web of gravity that connects every body, a network of tension and balance that prevents the whole from flying apart. It is a masterpiece of celestial mechanics, where every mass is accounted for and every motion is the result of a precise mathematical law. You feel the immense stability of this arrangement, a fortress of order in the chaotic expanse of the galaxy. The space between the stars is vast, but the solar system is not isolated. It moves through the Milky Way at hundreds of thousands of miles per hour. Yet inside this bubble of the heliosphere, everything feels still and protected. You see the bow shock where the solar wind meets, the interstellar medium creating a gentle ripple in the fabric of space. This is the skin of our home, a boundary that marks the end of the sun's direct influence and the beginning of the great deep. You feel the safety of this enclosure, a warm pocket of light and matter traveling through the cold, dark ocean of the Milky Way. The rhythm continues. Looking back toward the sun, you see the light reflecting off the dust that fills the orbital plane, creating a faint, ghostly glow known as the zodiacal light. This dust is the debris of comets and the remains of asteroid collisions, a fine mist of silica and carbon that dances in the sunlight. You feel the texture of this mist, a silken veil that connects the worlds in a shared atmosphere of light. It is a reminder that even the smallest grain of sand is part of the system's architecture, contributing to the balance of the whole. The light moves through this dust with a soft, diffused quality, casting a dreamlike haze over the inner planets, and silence follows. You drift toward a comet, a dirty snowball of ice and rock that has spent most of its life in the deep freeze of the Oort cloud. As it nears the sun, you see it begin to wake up, its ices sublimating directly into gas, creating a glowing coma of vapor. A long, magnificent tail develops, pointing always away from the sun, driven by the pressure of the solar wind. The tail is a bridge of light, millions of miles long, composed of dust and ionized gas that shimmers with a pale, ethereal blue. You feel the fragility of this visitor, a nomad that is slowly being consumed by the very light that makes it beautiful. The nucleus of the comet is a dark, irregular landscape of pits and jets, where gas erupts from hidden pockets like miniature geysers. You see the dust being lifted into space, forming a trail that will one day become a meteor shower if the Earth passes through it. The comet is a messenger from the distant past, carrying water and organic molecules that have remained unchanged since the system's birth. You feel the significance of this journey, a bridge between the frozen edge and the fiery center. It is a rhythmic return, a predictable cycle that has been witnessed by the Earth for millions of generations. And life adjusts once more. You turn your attention to the concept of resonance, the way the planets hum together in a gravitational harmony. Jupiter and Saturn, the two largest masses, pull on each other in a way that stabilizes their orbits and protects the inner worlds. This resonance is like a musical chord, a fundamental frequency that underpins the entire structure of the system. You feel the vibration of this chord in your own rest, a sense of deep, structural security. The planets are not just orbiting, they are communicating through the language of mass and distance. Every shift in one is answered by a subtle adjustment in the others. The sun's gravity is the conductor of this orchestra, a relentless force that keeps the music playing. Even as the sun consumes its fuel, its grip remains steady, ensuring that the planets stay in their assigned seats. You see the curve of space-time around the sun, a gentle well that guides the planets in their circular paths. This is the geometry of peace, a curvature that makes motion feel like stillness. You feel the weight of the sun as a comforting presence, a source of gravity that defines the down in the vastness of up. It is the ultimate foundation, the ground upon which the entire solar system is built. The current flows without effort. As you look at the inner planets again, you notice the process of differentiation, where the heavier elements sank to the centers and the lighter ones rose to the surfaces. You see the iron cores of the Earth and Mars, glowing with the heat of their formation, creating the magnetic fields that shield them. This layering is a natural sorting, a movement toward balance that happened when the worlds were still liquid. You feel the solidity of the crust beneath you, a thin shell of stone resting on a deep ocean of metal. It is a structure of immense strength and duration, a testament to the power of gravity to organize matter, and the quiet deepens. You observe the magnetospheres of the planets, invisible bubbles of force that deflect the solar wind and protect the atmospheres. They look like silken cocoons, shaped by the wind into long flowing tails that point toward the outer dark. You see the auroras at the poles, where the charged particles of the sun leak through the shield and paint the sky in curtains of green and violet light. This is the visible breath of the planet's protection, a silent light show that occurs at the boundaries of the world. You feel the security of these shields, a layer of defense that allows life and chemistry to flourish in the sun's direct path. The rhythm of the deep endures. Now, you focus on the moons again, seeing them as the children of the planets, each with its own unique personality and history. Some were born from the same disk of dust as their parents, while others were captured from the passing dark. You see the cratered surface of Callisto, the oldest landscape in the system, where every impact since the beginning of time is still visible. It is a world of pure memory, a library of the system's early violence now turned into a quiet, frozen record. You feel the stillness of this moon, a place where nothing ever changes and where the past is always present. In contrast, you see the active, youthful surface of Enceladus, a tiny moon of Saturn that sprays fountains of water ice into space from its southern pole. These geysers create one of Saturn's rings, a ghost ring made of the moon's own substance. You feel the cold mist of these fountains, a refreshing spray that suggests a warm, liquid ocean hidden beneath the ice. Enceladus is a world of surprises, a small body that has found a way to stay warm in the deep freeze. It is a reminder that even the smallest world can hold a vast, internal mystery. Still, the universe breathes. You move to the asteroid Vesta, a proto-planet that was frozen in time before it could fully grow. It has a massive mountain at its south pole, twice the height of Everest, created by a collision that nearly shattered the world. You see the deep grooves around its equator, like the stretch marks of a planet that tried to expand. Vesta is a bridge between the simple stones of the belt and the complex worlds of the inner system. You feel the density of its basaltic rock, a volcanic stone that speaks of an ancient internal fire. It is a world of rugged beauty, a survivor of the system's rougher years, and everything rests. As the light of the sun reaches the edge of the heliosphere, it begins to fade into the background of the stars. This is the Kuiper Cliff, a sudden drop-off in the density of objects that marks the beginning of the true void. You see the dwarf planet Haumea and Nor, elongated, football-shaped world that spins so fast it has been stretched out of a circle. It has 2 moons and a ring of its own, a miniature system of its own design. You feel the dizziness of this rotation, a rapid, rhythmic spinning that creates a sense of dynamic energy at the edge of the dark. Haumea is a world of motion, a testament to the variety of shapes that physics can create. The rhythm continues. Then there is Makemake, a world of red ice and frozen methane, where the sun appears only as a very bright point of light. It has no atmosphere most of the time, only a thin haze that appears when it gets slightly closer to the sun. You see the stillness of its surface, a landscape of frozen chemicals that have never known the warmth of a true day. Makemake is a world of silence and distance, a place where the laws of thermodynamics move with a slow, deliberate pace. You feel the cold of this world as a purifying force, a stillness that strips away the noise of the inner system, and the quiet holds. Finally, you reach the Oort cloud, a vast spherical shell of icy objects that surrounds the entire solar system like a halo. It is so far away that the sun's gravity is only a gentle suggestion, a soft tug that keeps these trillions of comets from wandering away into the galaxy. You see these ices as dim, ghostly shapes, drifting in orbits that take millions of years to complete. This is the nursery of the long-period comets, a reservoir of the system's most ancient materials. You feel the immense scale of this cloud, a structure so large that it dwarfs the orbits of the planets. The Oort cloud is the final frontier, the outer wall of our cosmic home. Beyond it lies the interstellar medium, the space between the stars where the sun's influence finally ends. You see the transition as a gentle fading, a blurring of the line between us and the rest. You feel the peace of this boundary, a place where the solar system merges into the larger rhythm of the Milky Way. It is a sense of belonging to something even greater, a realization that our home is part of a vast interconnected forest of stars. The quiet here is absolute, a silence that has existed since the beginning of time, and silence follows. You look back one more time, seeing the entire solar system as a single glowing sphere of light and order. From this distance, the details of the planets are lost, but the harmony of the whole is more visible than ever. You see the sun's light as a steady pulse, a heartbeat that keeps the entire system alive and moving. The planets are like the blood in the veins of this giant body, carrying energy and matter in a never-ending cycle. You feel the unity of this structure, a single entity held together by the invisible hands of gravity. It is a vision of perfect, enduring balance. The current flows without effort. As you return your focus to the inner system, you notice the subtle ways that light interacts with the surfaces of the worlds. You see the opposition surge, where a planet or moon suddenly brightens when the sun is directly behind you. This is the result of shadows disappearing and light reflecting directly off the dusty grains of the surface. You feel the clarity of this light, a brilliance that reveals the fine details of the craters and mountains. It is a moment of revelation, a sudden brightening that brings the distant worlds into sharp focus. The light of the sun is a tool of discovery, a lamp that reveals the secrets of the dark, and everything softens. You observe the ashen light on the dark side of Venus, a mysterious faint glow that has puzzled astronomers for centuries. It is a reminder that even in the dark, there is light to be found, whether it comes from the stars, the clouds, or the planet's own internal energy. You feel the wonder of this mystery, a small detail that keeps the universe feeling alive and unpredictable. Venus is a world of secrets, a place where the thick atmosphere hides as much as it reveals. You feel the warmth of this world as a constant, unmoving presence, a heat that defies the darkness of the night. The rhythm continues. You see the dust rings of Mars, two faint belts of debris created by the impacts on its small moons. These rings are nearly invisible, a subtle texture in the space around the red planet. You feel the delicacy of these structures, a fine dusting of stone that marks the moon's path through the sky. They are a reminder that every body in the system leaves a mark, a trail of its existence that persists over time. Mars is a world that is slowly being ground into dust, a process that takes millions of years, but is always occurring. You feel the inevitability of this change, a slow return to the raw materials of the system, and the quiet deepens. You watch as the shadow of Jupiter falls across its moons, a great cone of darkness that stretches millions of miles into space. When a moon enters this shadow, its temperature drops instantly, and the stars above become suddenly, brilliantly visible. You feel the sudden chill of this eclipse, a momentary pause in the sun's influence. Then, as the moon emerges back into the light, the heat returns, and the world wakes up again. This cycle of light and shadow is a constant rhythm in the Jupiter system, a heartbeat of temperature and visibility. It is a dance of geometry, a play of light and dark on a grand scale. The rhythm of the deep endures. In the rings of Saturn, you see the spokes, dark, radial features that appear and disappear as the rings rotate. They are thought to be clouds of fine dust lifted off the ring plane by electrostatic forces. You feel the ghostliness of these spokes, a flickering presence that defies the solid appearance of the rings. They are a reminder that the solar system is filled with invisible forces, magnetism, electricity, and light pressure that shape the world in subtle ways. Saturn is a world of complexity, a place where the laws of physics create patterns of infinite variety. You feel the beauty of this complexity, a richness that rewards the patient observer. Still, the universe breathes. As you leave the golden geometry of Saturn, you find yourself drifting back toward the inner warmth, noticing how the sunlight catches the edges of the zodiacal dust cloud. This faint, lenticular glow is the collective memory of every comet that has ever visited the sun, a fine mist of silica that smooths the transitions between the planets. You feel the grain of this dust against the vacuum, a subtle texture that proves the space between worlds is never truly empty. It is a shared atmosphere of light, a silken veil that binds the rocky worlds to the gas giants. Every breath of the solar wind moves this dust, shifting it in slow, invisible ripples that echo the movement of the tides on Earth. And still, it turns. You focus now on the concept of orbital eccentricity, the way the paths of the planets are not perfect circles, but gentle ellipses. This variation means that every world has a moment of closest approach and a moment of furthest distance, a rhythmic stretching and squeezing of the gravitational bond. You feel this as a slow cosmic inhalation and exhalation, a pulse that takes years or decades to complete. Even the Earth moves through this cycle, its distance from the sun changing by millions of miles in a predictable, elegant loop. This imperfection is what gives the system its life, preventing the orbits from becoming static or frozen. It is a dynamic equilibrium, a state of constant, graceful adjustment. The light of the sun is not just a source of heat, it is a source of pressure, a gentle hand that pushes against every surface it touches. You see the pointing Robertson effect in action, as the sunlight slows down the smallest grains of dust, causing them to spiral slowly toward the sun. This is a quiet, persistent cleaning of the system, a way for the light to reclaim the debris of the past. You feel the inevitability of this inward drift, a slow return to the source that takes millions of years to fulfill. It is a reminder that even light has mass and momentum, and that nothing in the solar system is immune to the laws of motion. The rhythm continues. In the deep silence between Mars and Jupiter, you encounter the Trojan asteroids, two vast groups of stones that share Jupiter's orbit, staying safely ahead of and behind the giant planet. They are held in place by Lagrangian points, pockets of gravitational stability where the pull of the sun and the planet cancel each other out. You see these asteroids as a permanent honor guard, a loyal collection of rocks that have followed Jupiter for billions of years. They move in a complex, tadpole-shaped dance, never straying from their invisible anchors. You feel the security of these points, a demonstration of how gravity can create islands of stillness in the middle of a moving stream, and the quiet holds. You look down at the surface of Io again, watching the plumes of sulfur dioxide rise and fall in the vacuum. Because there is no air, the plumes take the shape of perfect, translucent umbrellas, expanding until the thin gravity of the moon pulls them back to the colorful ground. You feel the heat of the tidal friction that drives this activity, a warmth generated by the constant tug-of-war between Jupiter and the other moons. Io is a world of constant renewal, where the surface is paved over, with fresh lava every few thousand years. It is the most geologically active place in the system, a vibrant, restless heart in the cold shadow of the giant. Contrast this with the silence of Callisto, where the craters are so old, they have begun to soften and flow, like features carved into ancient wax. You see the Valhalla crater, a massive impact site surrounded by concentric rings of frozen ridges, looking like a ripple in a pond that was frozen in mid-motion. There is a profound dignity in this age, a sense of a world that has seen everything and remained unchanged. You feel the cold, stony peace of Callisto, a moon that serves as a sentinel for the outer reaches of the Jovian system. It is a place where time has no meaning, and where the silence is as deep as the ice, and silence follows. You drift toward the magnetosphere of Saturn, which is nearly perfectly aligned with the planet's rotation axis. This symmetry creates a magnetic field that is clean and predictable, a series of invisible, nested bowls that hold the planet's plasma in place. You see the Enceladus Taurus, a giant ring of water vapor that circles Saturn, fed by the icy geysers of the small moon. This Taurus is like a ghost ring, invisible to the eye but glowing in the infrared, a signature of the moon's connection to the planet. You feel the resonance of this system, a feedback loop where the small affects the large in a continuous, flowing cycle. The rhythm of the deep endures. The rings of Saturn are not just ice. They are a laboratory of wave mechanics, where the gravity of the moons creates spiral density waves that look like the grooves on a vinyl record. You see these waves rippling through the ring particles, a visual representation of the music of the spheres. This is the language of resonance, where the timing of a moon's orbit matches the frequency of the ring's vibration. You feel the harmony of this interaction, a mathematical perfection that exists in the heart of a chaotic system. The rings are a delicate, shimmering fabric, a tapestry of light and motion that is constantly being rewoven by gravity. Beyond Saturn, the cold of Uranus becomes more apparent, a world where the atmosphere is so still that the clouds are few and far between. Yet, deep within the blue haze, you see the diamond rain that is theorized to fall through the interior. As high pressure turns carbon into solid crystals, you feel the weight of this invisible rain, a slow descent of gemstones through a sea of liquid methane. It is a vision of hidden beauty, a secret process that occurs far beneath the reaching light of the sun. Uranus is a world of quiet surprises, a place where the ordinary becomes extraordinary under the influence of extreme pressure, and life adjusts once more. You observe the rings of Uranus, which are narrow and dark, composed of materials as black as coal. They look like thin, charcoal lines drawn around the turquoise planet, a minimalist contrast to the grand displays of Saturn. These rings are relatively young, perhaps the remains of a moon that was torn apart by gravity only a few 100 million years ago. You feel the transience of these structures, a reminder that the solar system is always in a state of flux. Even the most solid-looking ring is a temporary arrangement of matter, a brief moment of order in the long history of the cosmos. The current flows, without effort. Moving back to Neptune, you watch the clouds of Triton, the only large moon in the system with a retrograde orbit. This backward motion is slowly draining Triton's orbital energy, causing it to spiral closer and closer to Neptune with every passing century. Eventually, the moon will cross the Roche limit and be torn apart by the planet's gravity, forming a new ring system that may rival Saturn's. You feel the inevitability of this future, a slow-motion drama that will take millions of years to play out. For now, Triton remains a cold, distant world of nitrogen ice and dark. Geysers, a captured traveler waiting for its final transformation. Neptune's magnetosphere is tilted and offset from its center, creating a complex, wobbling magnetic field that interacts with the solar wind in a chaotic dance. You see the field lines twisting and turning as the planet rotates, creating a magnetic tail that looks like a corkscrew. This is a messy, energetic environment, a contrast to the orderly fields of Saturn and Jupiter. You feel the vitality of this chaos, a sign of a world that is still full of internal energy and motion. Neptune is a blue beacon at the edge of the dark, a world that refuses to be still despite the cold, and the quiet deepens. Now you let your focus shift to the smallest members of the system, the interplanetary dust particles, or stardust. Each grain is a tiny, irregular crystal, often coated in a layer of ice or organic molecules. You see them floating in the sunlight, acting as miniature prisms that scatter the light into a million tiny sparks. These grains are the building blocks of the planets, the same material that gathered together 4 billion years ago to form the Earth. You feel a sense of kinship with this dust, a realization that we are made of the same ancient cosmic material. It is a cycle of matter that moves from the stars to the planets and back again. Still, the universe breathes. You observe the solar heliopause, the boundary where the sun's influence ends and the interstellar medium begins. This is not a sharp line, but a broad, turbulent region where the solar wind slows down and piles up against the incoming stellar gases. You see the Voyager spacecraft as a tiny metallic spark crossing this threshold and entering the true deep. It carries a golden record, a message from the Earth to whatever lies beyond, a silent voice in the infinite dark. You feel the courage of this journey, a small piece of our world venturing out into the unknown, held in the quiet embrace of the stars. The rhythm continues. Looking back towards the inner system, you see the sun as a small, incredibly bright point, its light still strong enough to cast a pale glow on the distant ice. The planets are now invisible to the naked eye, lost in the glare of the central star. You feel the scale of the system as a physical weight, a distance so vast that it can only be measured in hours and days of light travel. Yet you are still within the sun's kingdom, still connected to the source of order and energy. The solar system is a vast, empty cathedral of light, where every orbit is a prayer and every rotation is a song, and everything rests. You turn your attention to the Oort cloud once more, seeing it as a vast shell of frozen memories. Each comet in this cloud is a time capsule, preserving the chemistry of the early nebula in a state of perfect stasis. You see them as dark, icy stones, orbiting so slowly that they seem to be standing still. This is the reservoir of the system's potential, a storehouse of water and organics that could one day seed a new world. You feel the peace of this storage, a sense that nothing is ever truly lost in the universe, only kept in a different form, and the quiet holds. As you drift through this outer realm, you notice the way the stars of the Milky Way begin to brighten, no longer obscured by the sun's nearby glare. The constellations look the same as they do from Earth, but they feel more intimate, more present. You are seeing the galaxy as it truly is, a vast, swirling river of stars, of which our sun is just one small ripple. You feel the humility of this perspective, a recognition of our place in the cosmic hierarchy. We are a small, well-ordered house in a very large and ancient forest, protected by the gravity of our star and the silence of our vacuum. The current flows, without effort. You watch as a distant star passes within a few light years of our system, its gravity nudging the comets of the Oort cloud, just enough to send a few of them falling toward the sun. This is the galactic tide, a slow, rhythmic influence that shapes the history of our system over millions of years. You feel the connection between our local home and the wider galaxy, a relationship of subtle tugs and gentle pushes. The solar system is not a closed box, but a participant in the larger dance of the Milky Way. It is a state of perpetual, interstellar grace, and silence follows. You return to the inner system, focusing on the small, rocky world of Vesta in the asteroid belt. You see its massive South Pole crater, Rhea Silvia, and the central peak that rises higher than any mountain on Earth. Vesta is a protoplanet, a world that started to become a planet but was stopped by the growing gravity of Jupiter. You feel the frustration of this unfinished growth, a world that remains a fragment of what it could have been. Yet, in its fragments, it reveals the internal structure of the planets, showing us the iron and stone that lie beneath the surface of the Earth, and everything softens. Next to Vesta is Ceres, the queen of the belt, a world made of rock and ice with a thin temporary atmosphere of water vapor. You see the bright spots in a crater, which are actually deposits of sodium carbonate, left behind as briny water bubbled up from the interior and evaporated. This suggests that Ceres may have a hidden, salty ocean deep underground, much like the moons of the outer planets. You feel the hope of this discovery, a sign that water, and perhaps life, can exist in the most unexpected places. Ceres is a bridge between the dry inner worlds and the icy outer ones. The rhythm continues. You observe the rotation of the Earth from a distance, seeing the line of the Terminator as it moves across the continents, bringing the night to one half and the day to the other. You see the lights of the cities beginning to glow, a faint, golden lace that marks the presence of life. This is the only place in the system where such a light exists, a small artificial spark in the natural dark. You feel the fragility of this light, a thin layer of civilization resting on an ancient stony sphere. The Earth is a precious, breathing exception to the general rule of silence, and the quiet deepens. You watch the moon again, noticing the earth shine that illuminates its dark side, a faint, blue glow caused by sunlight reflecting off the Earth's oceans and clouds. It is a beautiful, reciprocal light, a conversation between two worlds that have been together since the beginning. You feel the stability of this relationship, a bond that has weathered billions of years of impacts and changes. The moon is a faithful companion, its presence a constant in a system of shifting orbits and drifting gas. You feel the peace of this companionship, a sense of never being truly alone in the dark. The rhythm of the deep endures. In the atmosphere of Jupiter, you see the brown barges, long, dark, oval-shaped, storms that drift through the golden clouds. They are areas of high pressure where the clouds have cleared, allowing you to see deeper into the warm, dark layers of the planet's interior. You feel the heat rising from these windows, a reminder of the immense energy that Jupiter generates within itself. It is a world that is still cooling down from its birth, a giant that still carries the fire of the early system. Jupiter is a living laboratory of weather, a place where storms last for centuries, and the wind never stops. Still, the universe breathes. You move to the moon Mimas, a small, icy moon of Saturn, with a crater so large it makes the moon look like a Death Star. The impact that created this crater, Herschel, must have nearly shattered the moon, yet it survived, a testament to the resilience of even the smallest bodies. You see the deep cracks on the opposite side of the moon, where the shockwaves met and tore at the ice. You feel the strength of this small world, a sphere of ice that has endured the worst the system could throw at it and remained whole. Mimas is a silent, scarred survivor, orbiting peacefully in the shadow of Saturn's rings, and everything rests. The moons of Saturn are often resonant, their orbits locked together in simple ratios that keep them from colliding. You see Tethys and Dione, two icy worlds that share a similar history of tectonic activity and cratering. They move in a coordinated dance, their gravity pulling on each other in a way that keeps their orbits stable. You feel the precision of this arrangement, a mechanical harmony that exists on a scale of millions of miles. The Saturnian system is a masterpiece of clockwork, where every part moves in relation to the others with perfect, unhurried timing. The rhythm continues. You observe the faint ring of Jupiter, a thin, dusty band created by the impacts on its smallest, innermost moons. It is nearly invisible, a ghost of a ring that can only be seen when the sun is behind the planet. You feel the subtlety of this feature, a reminder that the solar system is full of hidden structures that only reveal themselves under the right conditions. Jupiter is a world of many layers, from the visible clouds to the invisible magnetic fields and the dusty rings. You feel the richness of this environment, a place where there is always more to discover, and the quiet holds. Finally, you return to the Sun, watching as a coronal mass ejection erupts from its surface, sending a massive cloud of plasma out into space. You see the light of this eruption as a brilliant, silent flash, followed by the slow movement of the particles as they follow the magnetic field lines. This is the Sun's way of releasing energy, a powerful, rhythmic pulse that affects every planet in the system. You feel the strength of this pulse, a reminder of the raw power that drives the entire cosmic dance. The Sun is a magnificent, generous star, giving its energy to the worlds in a never-ending stream of light. The current flows without effort. As you finish this circuit of the system, you feel a sense of profound, lasting peace. Everything is in its place, moving according to the laws of physics and the rhythm of time. The solar system is a vast, beautiful and stable home, a place of light and shadow, heat and cold, motion and stillness. You are part of this system, a small observer in a grand celestial theatre. The quiet of the vacuum is not empty. It is filled with the music of the spheres and the language of the stars. You can rest now, knowing that the universe is holding you in its ancient gravitational embrace. And silence follows, yet the Sun remains the conductor of this silent symphony. Its gravity a firm and steady hand that guides the inner worlds. You focus your attention on the transition from the solar corona to the empty space of the inner system, where the light is so intense it feels like a physical presence. Here, the vacuum is not a void, but a medium for the Sun's radiance, a clear ocean of energy that flows toward the rocky shores of the planets. You feel the immense, ancient power of this light, which has been traveling through the dense interior of the Sun for thousands of years, before finally breaking free into the dark. The rhythm continues as you settle your gaze upon the orbital resonance of the inner worlds, where the timing of each rotation seems to echo a fundamental mathematical truth. You see Mercury again, but now you notice the spin-orbit resonance, where it completes exactly 3 rotations for every 2 orbits around the Sun. This 3.2 ratio is a gravitational lock, a state of deep stability that keeps the small planet from being torn apart by the Sun's tidal forces. You feel the precision of this lock, a mechanical certainty that ensures the planet always faces the light in a predictable, rhythmic pattern. It is the language of gravity expressed in the rotation of stone. And still, it turns. You move your attention back to the clouds of Venus, feeling the way the sulfuric acid mists swirl in the high atmosphere like silver smoke. These clouds are thick and reflective, casting a brilliant diffused light into the space around the planet, while keeping the surface in a state of eternal, copper-toned twilight. You feel the weight of this atmosphere as a protective layer, a heavy blanket that smooths out the temperature and prevents the world from ever growing cold. The winds in the upper deck move at hundreds of miles per hour, yet they move with a fluid, liquid grace that feels more like a current than a storm. In the space between Venus and Earth, you find the interplanetary magnetic field, a spiral of magnetic force that the Sun winds through the system like a great, invisible screw. As the Sun rotates, it pulls its magnetic field lines with it, creating a structure known as the Parker spiral. You see the particles of the solar wind following these curves, moving in long, elegant arcs toward the outer reaches. You feel the geometry of this spiral as a grounding force, a sense of direction in the vast, orientationless vacuum. It is the invisible map of the solar system, guiding the flow of energy with mathematical rigor. And the quiet holds. You drift toward the Earth's magnetopause, the boundary where our world's magnetic field meets the oncoming pressure of the Sun. It is a vibrant, shimmering surface, shaped like the bow of a ship as it pushes through the solar wind. You see the magnetic reconnection events, small bursts of energy where the Sun's field and the Earth's field touch and merge, creating the sparks that eventually become the auroras. You feel the safety of this barrier, a resilient, invisible wall that allows our atmosphere to remain thick and calm. It is a masterpiece of natural engineering, a shield that has stood for billions of years. The current flows without effort. You observe the Earth from the dark side, watching as the moon rises over the limb of the planet, its craters filled with deep ink-black shadows. The light of the sun catches the very tips of the lunar mountains, making them look like a string of pearls suspended in the dark. This is the leonine beauty of the moon, a stark and silent world that provides the rhythm for the Earth's own life. You feel the gravitational pull of the moon as a gentle, rhythmic tug, a reminder of the connection that binds the two worlds together. It is a partnership of stone and water, gravity and time, and the quiet deepens. Now, you turn toward the Martian horizon, where the sun is setting in a pale blue glow, a phenomenon caused by the way the fine dust in the atmosphere scatters the light. Unlike the red sunsets of Earth, the Martian sky turns a cool sapphire hue as the day ends, casting a serene light over the rusty dunes. You feel the chill of the thinning air as the heat of the day radiates back into space, leaving the ground cold and still. The silence of Mars is a thin, whistling quiet, the sound of a world that is slowly losing its warmth to the infinite dark of the stars. The rhythm of the deep endures as you drift through the asteroid belt again, noticing how the Kirkwood gaps act as invisible walls within the debris. These gaps are areas where Jupiter's gravity has cleared out the asteroids, creating a series of empty rings within the belt. You see these gaps as a form of negative architecture, a structure made of absence and resonance. You feel the power of Jupiter's influence, reaching across millions of miles to dictate where a small stone can and cannot be. It is a demonstration of how the largest world in the system maintains the order of the smallest. Still, the universe breathes. You focus on the moon Europa, orbiting Jupiter in a state of icy perfection. You see the lineae, the dark, crisscrossing streaks that mark the surface like a global roadmap, created as the ice shell cracks and refreezes. Beneath this ice, a hidden ocean of liquid water is kept warm by the tidal kneading of Jupiter's immense gravity. You feel the tension in the ice, a slow, creaking movement that speaks of the vast, dark liquid hidden below. Europa is a world of hidden potential, a cold shell protecting a warm heart in the farthest reaches of the light. And everything rests. As you approach Saturn, you notice the Cassini division, the wide, dark gap that separates the A and B rings. This gap is not empty, but filled, with a much lower density of ice particles, cleared out by the gravitational resonance of the moon mimas. You see the fine, dusty edges of this division, where the light of the stars shines through the ring material like a veil. You feel the mechanical precision of this gap, a space defined by the laws of motion and the timing of a distant moon. It is a silent corridor in the middle of a shimmering sea of ice. The rhythm continues. You observe the moon Iapetus, the yin-yang world of Saturn, which has one hemisphere as dark as coal and the other as bright as snow. This striking contrast is caused by a slow migration of ice, as the dark dust absorbs heat and causes the water to evaporate and redeposit on the colder, brighter side. You feel the duality of this world, a sphere caught between light and dark, heat and cold. It is a slow thermal dance that has been playing out for eons, resulting in a moon that looks like two different worlds joined together. Iapetus is a testament to the subtle, persistent power of sunlight even at great distances, and the quiet holds. You drift toward the great white spot on Saturn, a massive storm that appears once every 30 years, roughly once per Saturnian year. It is a titanic eruption of ammonia clouds from the planet's interior, spreading out to wrap around the entire northern hemisphere. You see the turbulence and the swirling eddies as the storm interacts with the planet's jet streams, creating a chaotic, beautiful lace of white and gold. You feel the energy of this cycle, a periodic release of heat that reminds us that even the calmest-looking giant has a restless, burning core. The current flows without effort. Now you enter the realm of Uranus once more, noticing how its magnetic field is tilted 60 degrees away from its rotation axis and offset from the planet's center. This creates a magnetic environment that is lopsided and strange. with auroras that occur in unexpected places across the turquoise sky. You see the magnetic field lines twisting like a tangled ball of yarn as the planet rolls along its side. You feel the oddity of this world, a place where the standard rules of planetary physics seem to have been rearranged. Uranus is a quiet rebel, a world that finds its own unique way to exist in the dark, and life adjusts once more. You watch the moon Titania, the largest of Uranus's satellites, a world of grey ice and massive fault canyons that stretch for hundreds of miles. You see the scarp cliffs where the crust has pulled apart, revealing the ancient frozen layers of the moon's interior. The light of the sun is so weak here that the shadows are almost absolute, making the landscape look like a high-contrast photograph. You feel the extreme cold of this world, a temperature so low that the ice behaves like solid rock. Titania is a silent, frozen cathedral, a place of jagged beauty and eternal crystalline peace. Still, the universe breathes. Further out, you see the moon. Triton again, noticing the cantaloupe terrain of its western hemisphere, a landscape of strange, dimpled pits and ridges caused by the rising of warm ice from below. This process, called diaperism, creates a surface that looks like the skin of a melon, unique in the entire solar system. You feel the slow, churning motion of this ice, a geological heartbeat that takes millions of years to complete one cycle. Triton is a world of soft, frozen textures, a place where the chemistry of nitrogen and methane creates a landscape of unparalleled strangeness, and silence follows. Neptune's winds are the fastest in the system, reaching speeds of over 1,200 miles per hour. Yet because the atmosphere is so cold and thin, they move with a ghostly, effortless speed. You see the Scooter, a small white cloud that zips around the planet faster than the larger storm systems. It is a wisp of methane ice, caught in the high-altitude jet streams that circle the blue giant. You feel the momentum of these winds, a silent, powerful force that shapes the clouds into long, streaky ribbons. Neptune is a world of aerodynamic grace, a blue sphere polished by the constant movement of the air. The rhythm of the deep endures. You look toward the dwarf planet Haumea, watching its two moons, Hi'iaka and Namaka, as they orbit the elongated, spinning world. Haumea rotates so fast, once every 4 hours, that it has been stretched into a triaxial ellipsoid, shaped like a smooth, white stone found in a river. You see the thin ring of dark dust that surrounds the equator, a remnant of an ancient collision that also created its moons. You feel the energy of this rotation, a humming, high-speed vibration that contrasts with the slow, cold orbits of its neighbors. Haumea is a world of momentum, a spinning dancer at the edge of the dark, and everything softens. Now, you let your mind drift to the heliospheric current sheet, a massive, wavy structure that extends from the sun to the edge of the system. This is the surface where the sun's magnetic field changes polarity, and it is shaped like the ruffled skirt of a ballerina as it spins through space. You see the Earth and the other planets dipping above and below this sheet as they orbit, experiencing subtle changes in the magnetic environment. You feel the vastness of this structure, a surface that spans billions of miles, yet is thinner than the width of a planet. It is the largest structure in the solar system, a silent, magnetic wave. The eye's rhythm continues. You focus on the solar cycle, the 11-year pulse, where the sun's magnetic poles flip and the number of sunspots rises and falls. You see the sun moving from its quiet, minimum state to its active, maximum state, where eruptions and flares become common. This is the heartbeat of our system, a rhythmic variation that affects the weather, the auroras, and the very chemistry of the planets. You feel the reliability of this cycle, a long-term pulse that has been beating since the sun first ignited. It is the fundamental cadence of our local cosmos, a measure of time that transcends human years, and the quiet holds. You drift through the scattered disk, a region of space beyond the Kuiper belt, where icy objects have been flung into wild, eccentric orbits by the gravity of Neptune. You see the dwarf planet Gong Gong, a red, frozen world with a tiny moon moving in a path that takes it hundreds of times further from the Sun than the Earth. These objects are the outcasts of the system, worlds that were pushed away during the early migration of the giant planets. You feel the solitude of these orbits, paths that lead into the deep dark before slowly turning back toward the light. It is a realm of long, lonely journeys and silent, icy returns. The current flows without effort. As you look back toward the center, you notice the gravitational lensing of the Sun, where its massive gravity slightly bends the light from distant stars as it passes by. This is the ultimate proof of the Sun's power, a warping of the very fabric of space and time. You see the distant galaxy behind the Sun distorted into a faint, glowing ring, a secret revealed by the laws of relativity. You feel the weight of this influence, a curvature that defines the shape of our entire reality. The Sun is not just a source of light, but the very anchor of the space we inhabit, and the quiet deepens. You observe the Pioneer anomaly, the tiny, unexplained deceleration of the Pioneer spacecraft as they left the system, which was eventually found to be caused by the heat radiating from their own batteries. This is a reminder of how precise the laws of physics are, and how even the smallest force can be measured in the silence of the vacuum. You feel the sensitivity of this environment, where the warmth of a single battery can nudge a spacecraft off its course. It is a place of absolute clarity, where every cause has an effect and every motion has a meaning. Still, the universe breathes. In the atmosphere of Saturn, you see the shadow of the rings being cast onto the golden cloud tops, a series of dark, parallel lines that move slowly with the seasons. During the equinox, the rings are edge-on to the Sun, and the shadow becomes a single, thin line that cuts across the planet's equator. You feel the symmetry of this moment, a perfect alignment of light, ice, and stone. The planet appears to be wearing a dark belt, a temporary decoration that will last for only a few weeks. It is a moment of astronomical elegance, a quiet highlight in the long Saturnian year, and silence follows. You watch the moon Rhea, Saturn's second largest satellite, which may have a faint, dusty ring system of its own, the only moon known to possess such a feature. You see the thin wisps of material held in place by the moon's gravity, a delicate halo of debris. You feel the complexity of this nested system, a ring around a moon, around a planet, around a star. It is a fractal architecture where the same patterns of gravity and motion repeat at every scale. Rhea is a world of grey ice and hidden rings, a quiet jewel in the crown of the gas giant. The rhythm of the deep endures. You drift toward the great wall of the heliopause again, watching the anomalous cosmic rays as they are accelerated by the turbulence of the boundary. These particles gain immense energy as they bounce back and forth between the solar wind and the interstellar gas, eventually shooting back into the system like invisible bullets. You feel the energy of this frontier, a place where the Sun's breath finally fails and the wind of the stars takes over. It is a boundary of transition, a gateway between our home and the infinite reaches of the Milky Way, and everything softens. Now, you focus on the galactic habitable zone, the region of the Milky Way where our solar system resides, far enough from the center to avoid dangerous radiation, but close enough to have plenty of heavy elements. You see our system as a small, protected island in a vast, spiraling ocean of stars. You feel the luck of this positioning, a state of cosmic grace that has allowed the Earth to remain stable for billions of years. We are in the suburbs of the galaxy, a quiet, peaceful neighborhood where life has had the time and space to grow. The rhythm continues. You observe the stellar parallax, the way the nearby stars seem to shift slightly against the background of the distant galaxy as the Earth moves in its orbit. This is the visual proof of our motion, a subtle swaying that occurs over the course of a year. You feel the swaying as a gentle, rhythmic motion, a cosmic rocking that reminds you of the Earth's constant travel. We are never truly still. We are always moving in a great circular path, witnessing the universe from a slightly different angle every day, and the quiet holds. Finally, you return to the concept of the solar constant, the steady amount of energy that the Sun provides to every square meter of the Earth's orbit. This constant is the foundation of our climate and our life, a reliable stream of power that never wavers. You feel the stability of this flow, a golden warmth that fills the space between the worlds. It is the primary currency of the solar system, the energy that is traded between the sun and the planets in a never-ending cycle of light and heat. The current flows without effort. As you conclude this part of the journey, you feel the immense structural integrity of the solar system. It is a place where every orbit is a circle of peace and every rotation is a breath of time. You are safely anchored in this great gravitational house, protected by the sun and watched over by the stars. The quiet of the vacuum is a comfort, a silence that allows you to hear the subtle music of the spheres. You can drift now into the deeper dark, knowing that the rhythm of the system will always bring you back to the light, and silence follows. And silence follows, yet the mind continues to wander through the soft magnetic corridors of the outer system. You focus now on the concept of tidal heating, the invisible friction that keeps the hearts of small moons warm. You see the moon Io again, but instead of its volcanoes, you sense the internal pressure, the way Jupiter's massive gravity stretches the rock like dough as it orbits. This constant kneading generates a heat that defies the cold of space, proving that energy can be found in the simple tug of a neighbor. You feel this warmth as a deep internal hum, a resonance that connects the center of a planet to the core of its satellite. The rhythm continues. You drift toward the E-ring of Saturn, the widest and most ethereal of its circles. This ring is not made of solid boulders, but of microscopic grains of ice that shimmer like a frozen fog. You see the source of this fog, the small moon Enceladus, which continuously feeds the ring with its icy breath. Every crystal in this ring is a tiny prism, catching the dim sunlight and scattering it into a pale blue glow. You feel the lightness of this structure, a ring so thin you could pass through it without a sound. It is a ghostly architecture, a circle of mist held in place by the gentle hands of gravity. And still, it turns. You move your focus to the great dark spot of Neptune, a vortex that appears as a deep, ink-blue bruise against the lighter azure of the planet's clouds. Unlike the solid red spot of Jupiter, this storm is a window into the darker, colder depths of the atmosphere, where the methane gas becomes a thick, liquid sea. You see the white clouds of methane ice that skirt the edges of the spot, moving like high-altitude ghosts across the face of the giant. You feel the immense, quiet power of this storm, a hurricane that makes no noise, spinning in a vacuum where the wind is a movement of pure energy. And the quiet holds. In the space between Neptune and the Kuiper Belt, you encounter the centaurs, unstable, icy bodies that cross the orbits of the giant planets. They are the nomads of the solar system, neither fully asteroids nor fully comets, moving in paths that change with every close encounter. You see Chiron, the first of its kind, which sometimes develops a faint dusty tail as it drifts toward the warmth of the sun. You feel the uncertainty of these orbits, a reminder that even in a system of order, there is space for the wandering and the wild. The centaurs are the travelers between worlds, moving through the shadows with a quiet, persistent curiosity. The current flows without effort. You observe the planetary differentiation of the dwarf planet Ceres, sensing how its interior has separated into a rocky core and an icy mantle. This layering is the mark of a world that was once warm enough to flow, a sphere that organized its own structure according to the density of its materials. You see the white salts in its craters as the scars of an ancient, internal ocean that is slowly drying out. You feel the solidity of this world, a dense heart wrapped in a cooling shell of ice and dust. It is a miniature version of the processes that built the Earth, a small world with a big history, and the quiet deepens. Now, you turn toward the sun's poles, where the magnetic field lines emerge and dive back into the solar interior. Unlike the active equator, the poles are often home to coronal holes, large areas where the magnetic field is open to space, allowing the solar wind to escape in high-speed streams. You see these streams as invisible rivers of plasma, rushing out into the system at double the normal speed. You feel the clarity of these regions, a place where the sun's fire is more focused and direct. It is the solar equivalent of a mountain peak, cold, clear, and immensely powerful. The rhythm of the deep endures as you watch the moon Ariel, the brightest of Uranus's satellites. Its surface is crisscrossed by graben, long, sunken valleys that formed as the moon expanded and cracked during its cooling process. You see the smooth plains of ice that have flowed into these valleys, like frozen rivers of milk. The light of the sun is a mere glimmer here, yet it reveals the crystalline texture of the frost that covers every ridge. You feel the extreme stillness of Ariel, a world where the only movement is the slow, centuries-long shifting of the ice. Still, the universe breathes. You focus on the Trojan moons of Saturn, Tethys, and Dione, each of which is accompanied by smaller moons that share their orbits. Calypso and Telesto follow Tethys, while Helene and Polydeuces dance with Dione, always staying 60 degrees ahead or behind. This is the Lagrangian choreography, a perfect triangular balance where three bodies move as one. You see these small companions as loyal shadows, never losing their place in the cosmic line. You feel the security of this geometry, a state of equilibrium where no one is left behind and nothing is out of step, and everything rests. As you approach the dwarf planet Makemake, you notice the lack of an atmosphere, which leaves its red, frozen surface exposed to the unfiltered light of the stars. The ground is a complex landscape of methane and ethane ice, turned a deep crimson by the relentless rain of cosmic rays. You see the silence of this world as a tangible thing, a stillness that has been preserved for billions of years at the edge of the dark. You feel the purity of this cold, a temperature so low that even the air would freeze solid and fall as snow. Makemake is a world of quiet, frozen chemistry, a laboratory of the deep cold. The rhythm continues. You observe the heliospheric shield, the vast magnetic bubble that deflects the majority of the galaxy's cosmic rays away from our system. This shield is our first line of defense, a protective envelope that makes the solar system a safe haven in a turbulent Milky Way. You see the high-energy particles of the galaxy being turned away by the sun's magnetic influence. Like rain sliding off a warm umbrella, you feel the benevolence of this structure, a silent guardian that allows life on Earth to thrive. It is the largest expression of the sun's care, a boundary of safety that extends for billions of miles. And the quiet holds. You drift toward the moon Callisto again, but this time you focus on its induced magnetic field. Because Callisto has a salty, liquid ocean deep underground, it reacts to Jupiter's powerful magnetic field by creating a field of its own. You see this as a subtle glowing pulse within the moon, a sign of the hidden liquid that lurks beneath the ancient cratered crust. You feel the tension between the dark, frozen surface and the warm, moving water below. It is a moon of two worlds, one dead and scarred, the other fluid and alive. The current flows without effort. Now you enter the Roche limit of a hypothetical gas giant, the invisible boundary where a moon's internal gravity is overcome by the planet's tidal forces. You see a small, icy moon beginning to stretch and crack as it crosses this line, its substance being pulled apart into thousands of individual fragments. This is the birth of a ring, a moment where a solid world becomes a shimmering disk of debris. You feel the inevitability of this transformation, a graceful transition from one form of order to another. It is not a destruction, but a spreading out, a world becoming a halo, and life adjusts once more. You watch the perihelion of a comet, the moment of its closest approach to the sun, where the heat is most intense and the tail is at its longest. You see the nucleus glowing with the energy of the light, shedding layers of ice and dust in a magnificent silent eruption. The comet is moving at its highest speed now, a white arrow of fire cutting through the solar corona. You feel the exhilaration of this moment, a brief, bright climax in a journey that takes thousands of years. Then, as it begins to move away, the tail fades, and the comet returns to its long, frozen sleep. Still, the universe breathes. You move to the dwarf planet Eris again, noticing its moon Dysnomia as it orbits the distant white world. Because Eris is so far from the sun, Its orbit is a long, lonely path that stays far away from the plane of the other planets. You see the stars above Eris as brilliant and unblinking, no longer dimmed by the atmosphere of a home world. You feel the profound isolation of this world, a sphere of frozen nitrogen that marks the edge of the sun's visible kingdom. Eris is a world of the high frontier, a white beacon in the infinite dark, and silence follows. Neptune's ring system is composed of arcs, where the ring material is clumped together into thick sections rather than a continuous circle. You see these arcs, named liberty, equality, and fraternity, as they move through the dark, held in place by the gravitational influence of the moon Galatea. It is a strange, interrupted ring, a series of bright fragments that defy the usual symmetry of the giants. You feel the mystery of this structure, a reminder that gravity can create patterns that are as surprising as they are beautiful. Neptune is a world that keeps its secrets well, hidden behind its azure clouds and broken rings. The rhythm of the deep endures. You look toward the solar wind termination shock, the place where the solar wind suddenly drops in speed as it hits the interstellar medium. This is a region of immense turbulence where the particles pile up like water hitting a wall. You see the Voyager spacecraft passing through this shock, its sensors recording the sudden jump in temperature and density. You feel the energy of this transition, a moment of friction where the sun's influence begins to yield to the galaxy. It is a boundary of power, a place where the local wind meets the cosmic gale, and everything softens. Now, you focus on the obliquity of the planets, the tilt of their axes that gives them their seasons. You see the Earth's gentle tilt of 23 degrees, and then you see the extreme tilt of Uranus, which lies almost flat on its side. This tilt means that for 40 years at a time, one pole of Uranus is bathed in constant sunlight, while the other is in total darkness. You feel the slow, heavy rhythm of these seasons, a cycle that lasts longer than a human lifetime. It is a world where summer and winter are not just times of year, but eras of history. The rhythm continues. You observe the albedo of the different worlds, the measure of how much light they reflect back into space. You see the dark, charcoal-like surface of the asteroids, which absorb almost all the sunlight that hits them, and the brilliant, blinding whiteness of Enceladus, which reflects nearly every photon. This variation in brightness creates a solar system of high contrast, where light and shadow are the primary architects of beauty. You feel the texture of this light, sometimes hard and sharp, sometimes soft and diffused. It is the medium through which we see the universe, the messenger of all knowledge. And the quiet holds. You drift through the Oort cloud again, but this time you sense the spherical nature of the cloud surrounding the solar system in every direction. Unlike the flat disk of the planets, the Oort cloud is a giant bubble of potential, a shell of trillions of icy bodies that stretches halfway to the next star. You see the comets here as stationary sparks, waiting for a passing star or the galactic tide to nudge them into motion. You feel the immense, silent weight of this cloud, the ultimate boundary of our home, a reservoir of ice and time. The current flows without effort. As you look back toward the sun from this distance, you realize that it is just one of many billions of stars in the Milky Way. Yet for us, it is the center of everything. You see the heliosphere as a glowing, elongated teardrop, moving through the interstellar gas like a ship through a dark sea. Inside this teardrop, everything is warm and familiar. Outside, the universe is vast and unknown. You feel a deep sense of gratitude for this bubble of light, a protected space where order and harmony are the law. It is a sanctuary in the stars, a home made of gravity and grace, and the quiet deepens. You observe the geological time of the planets, the way their surfaces record the history of billions of years. You see the craters on the moon as a timeline of the early system's violence, and the smooth plains of Venus as a record of recent, global renewal. You feel the thickness of this time, a weight that transcends the short scales of human life. The solar system is an ancient book, its pages made of stone and ice, its ink the dust of dead stars. To look at a planet is to read the history of the universe itself. Still, the universe breathes. In the atmosphere of Jupiter, you see the festoon clouds, long, blue, wispy features that look like draped fabric hanging between the golden clouds of the equator. These are areas where the clouds have thinned, allowing a glimpse into the deeper, warmer layers of the planet. You feel the humidity of this world, a thick, fluid air that is rich with the building blocks of chemistry. Jupiter is a world of abundance, a giant that holds enough matter to make 1,000 Earths. You feel the majesty of this scale, a presence that commands the entire system, and silence follows. You watch the moon, Iapetus again, focusing on its equatorial ridge, a mountain range that runs perfectly along the moon's equator, making it look like a walnut. This ridge is 12 miles high and stretches halfway around the world, its origins still a mystery to the scientists who watch it. You see the jagged peaks of the ridge as they catch the light, casting long, dramatic shadows over the dark hemisphere. You feel the strangeness of this feature, a geometric anomaly that defies simple explanation. Iapetus is a world of puzzles, a moon that challenges our understanding of how worlds are formed. The rhythm of the deep endures. You drift toward the Kuiper cliff once more, noticing how the number of icy bodies suddenly drops to 0, leaving a vast, empty gap before the Oort cloud begins. Some believe this gap is caused by a hidden 9th planet, a planet 9, that has cleared out the area with its massive gravity. You feel the presence of this unseen world, a ghost, planet that guides the orbits of the distant ice from the shadows. It is a reminder that there is always more to discover, always another mystery waiting at the edge of the light, and everything softens. Now, you focus on the angular momentum of the system, the invisible force that keeps everything spinning in the same direction. You see the original cloud of dust and gas collapsing and flattening into a disk, a motion that has been preserved for 4.5 billion years. Every planet, every moon, and every grain of dust carries a piece of this ancient rotation. You feel the momentum as a steady, unyielding current, a flow that cannot be stopped. It is the memory of the beginning, a pulse that continues to beat in the heart of every orbit. The rhythm continues. You observe the solar irradiance, the total power of the sun's light as it reaches the edge of our atmosphere. This energy is the driver of our winds, our weather, and our very existence. You feel the warmth of this light as a benevolent gift, a constant stream of photons that has traveled across the void to touch the Earth. It is a connection of pure energy, a bridge between the fire of the star and the life of the world. The sun is a generous father, providing for its children with a steady and unwavering hand, and the quiet holds. Finally, you return to the stillness of your own body, feeling the way the rhythm of the solar system matches the rhythm of your breath. You are part of this great, celestial machine, a participant in the long, slow dance of the planets. The gravity that holds the Earth in its orbit is the same gravity that holds you to your bed. The light that warms the surface of Mars is the same light that once warmed your day. You are home, tucked into a quiet corner of a vast and beautiful system, protected by the silence and the stars. The current flows without effort. As you close this chapter of the journey, you feel a sense of profound, lasting equilibrium. The solar system is a place of infinite variety held together by a few simple, elegant laws. It is a masterpiece of order, a sanctuary of light in the middle of the deep. You can rest now, knowing that the stars will continue their long, slow orbits while you sleep. The quiet of the vacuum is a lullaby, a soft and steady sound that carries you toward the edge of dreams. And silence follows, and the quiet holds as we move toward the inner rocky worlds, where the memory of fire is still etched into the stone. You observe the basin on Mercury, a massive impact site called Calores, surrounded by concentric rings of mountains that look like frozen waves in a sea of mercury. The sheer force of the collision that created this place sent shock waves through the entire planet, focusing on the opposite side to create a jumbled, weird terrain of hills and valleys. You feel the intensity of this ancient event as a vibration in the deep past, now stilled into a permanent, silent monument. The planet remains a heavy, metallic heart, enduring the sun's proximity with a stoic and unwavering grace. The rhythm continues. You focus now on the retrograde rotation of Venus, sensing the slow, heavy grind of a world that turns in the opposite direction of its neighbors. It is as if the planet is trying to hold back the clock, its thick atmosphere dragging against the surface with the weight of an ocean. You see the light of the sun struggling to penetrate the golden haze, reaching the ground only as a dim, orange glow that casts no shadows. The heat here is a solid thing, a constant pressure that keeps the minerals on the surface in a state of eternal glowing warmth. You feel the immense, stagnant peace of this world, a place where time is measured in centuries of thick, unmoving air. And still, it turns. Beyond the inner worlds, the main asteroid belt acts as a celestial sieve, sorting the debris of the early system by size and composition. You see the asteroid's Psyche, a world that appears to be the exposed iron core of a planet that never finished growing. Its surface is a metallic landscape of nickel and iron, reflecting the distant starlight with a cold, silver glint. You feel the density of this object, a heavy, magnetic weight that speaks of the violent collisions that stripped away its outer layers of rock. Psyche is a skeleton of a world, a silent witness to the constructive and destructive powers of gravity, and the quiet deepens. In the vast gap between the belt and Jupiter, you encounter the Hilda asteroids, which move in a unique, triangular resonance with the giant planet. They are the guardians of the gateway, following paths that ensure they are never captured by Jupiter's massive pull. You see them as a coordinated swarm, a rhythmic movement of stone that pulses in and out like a breathing lung. You feel the safety of this resonance, a mathematical shield that keeps these small bodies from being lost to the dark. It is a demonstration of how order can emerge from the most complex gravitational interactions, creating a lasting and stable harmony. The current flows without effort. You drift toward the great red spot once more, but this time you notice the smaller white ovals that orbit around it like satellites. These smaller storms are younger, more energetic versions of the giant, merging and splitting in a slow-motion dance of fluid dynamics. You see the way the wind shears these storms into elongated ribbons, creating a tapestry of motion that is never the same from one day to the next. You feel the immense vitality of Jupiter's atmosphere, a place where the weather is the landscape and the clouds are the only mountains. It is a giant engine of heat and gas, humming with a deep subsonic power, and everything softens. Now, you focus on the hexagon of Saturn, a geometric storm at the North Pole that looks like it was carved by a steady celestial hand. Each side of the hexagon is longer than the diameter of the Earth, yet the entire structure remains stable as the planet rotates. You see the concentric waves of clouds within the shape, moving with a precision that defies the chaos of most weather systems. You feel the mystery of this geometry, a perfect six-sided crown for the ringed giant. It is a reminder that the laws of physics can create beauty that is both complex and mathematically pure. The rhythm of the deep endures. You observe the Phoebe ring of Saturn, a massive dark disk of dust that sits far beyond the visible rings and orbits in the opposite direction. It is invisible to the human eye, detectable only by its warmth, yet it is so large that it could hold 1 billion Earths within its circumference. You see this ring as a ghostly shadow, a faint dusting of dark material captured from a distant, icy world. You feel the scale of this structure as a silent, expansive presence, a ring that marks the outer limits of Saturn's gravitational kingdom. It is a hidden halo, a secret shared between the planet and the deep. Still, the universe breathes. You move to the moon Iapetus, sensing the thermal segregation that has divided its surface into two distinct halves. The dark side, Cassini Regio, absorbs more heat from the sun, causing any frost to evaporate and migrate to the colder, brighter side. This process is a slow-motion distillation, a movement of water molecules that takes millions of years to complete. You see the stark line between the black and white terrain, a boundary of temperature and light that wraps around the entire moon. You feel the duality of this world, a sphere that has found a unique balance between the heat of the light and the cold of the dark, and the quiet holds. Now you encounter the ice giants again, focusing on the magnetosphere of Uranus, which is tilted and offset in a way that creates a magnetic tail like a corkscrew. As the planet rolls on its side, the field lines are twisted and braided by the solar wind, creating a magnetic environment that is unlike any other in the system. You see the auroras occurring near the equator rather than the poles, a misplaced glow that highlights the planet's unique orientation. You feel the strange, off-balance energy of this world, a place where the fundamental forces of nature have been rearranged into a new and surprising pattern. The rhythm continues. You drift toward Neptune's moon, Proteus, a dark, irregular world that is just barely too small for its own gravity to pull it into a sphere. It is covered in massive craters and deep grooves, a block of ice and rock that has remained unchanged for billions of years. You see the jagged edges of its shape, a contrast to the smooth spheres of the larger planets. You feel the rugged, ancient nature of this moon, a survivor of the system's early construction, now resting in the cold shadow of the blue giant. Proteus is a world of corners and shadows, a silent sentinel in the farthest reaches, and life adjusts once more. Beyond, Neptune, the Kuiper belt, becomes a realm of resonance where many icy bodies are locked into a 3.2 relationship with the gravity of the giant. These Plutinos follow paths that ensure they stay far away from Neptune even as their orbits cross, a state of deep gravitational protection. You see these worlds as a collection of frozen travelers, moving in synchronized loops that have been calculated by the laws of physics over eons. You feel the security of this timing, a rhythmic heartbeat that ensures the stability of the outer system. It is a dance of ice and math, performed in the silent dark. The current flows without effort. You observe the surface frost of the dwarf planet Makemake, noticing how the methane ice turns from a gas to a solid as the world moves further from the sun. This frost is so white and pure that it reflects the starlight like a field of diamonds, creating a brilliant cold glow at the edge of the dark. You feel the crystalline texture of this surface, a place where the very air falls as snow and the seasons are measured in centuries. Makemake is a world of absolute stillness, a place where the chemistry of the deep cold has created a landscape of serene, frozen beauty, and the quiet deepens. Now, you turn toward the heliopause again, focusing on the interstellar wind that pushes back against the sun's influence. This wind is composed of the gas and dust of the galaxy, carrying the signatures of distant supernovae and ancient stars. You see the boundary where these two winds meet as a shimmering, turbulent wall, a place of cosmic friction and transition. You feel the strength of the galaxy's breath, a cold and steady force that defines the limits of our home. It is the edge of our local reality, the beginning of the great interstellar deep. Still, the universe breathes. You look back toward the sun, seeing it as a yellow dwarf star, a stable and reliable source of energy that has been burning for nearly 5 billion years. You see the granulation on its surface, massive bubbles of plasma that rise and fall in a never-ending cycle of convection. Each bubble is the size of a continent, yet from this distance, they look like grains of gold in a sea of fire. You feel the steady, unhurried pulse of this convection, a heartbeat that drives the light of the system. The sun is a masterpiece of equilibrium, a star that has found a perfect balance between its own gravity and its nuclear fire, and everything rests. You focus on the Earth's tilt once more, noticing how the precession of the axis causes the North Star to change over thousands of years. This slow, wobbling motion is like the movement of a spinning top, a rhythmic adjustment that takes 26,000 years to complete. You see the constellations shifting slowly across the sky, a long-term movement that connects our world to the deeper cycles of the galaxy. You feel the scale of this time, a duration so vast that it dwarfs the history of human civilizations. It is a slow, cosmic rocking, a motion that ensures the long-term stability of our climate and our life. The rhythm continues. In the atmosphere of Saturn, you see the ribbon clouds, long, narrow bands of clouds that stretch for thousands of miles along the planet's jet streams. These ribbons are made of phosphine and ammonia, creating a delicate lace-like pattern across the golden face of the giant. You see the eddies and swirls where the winds meet, creating a visual map of the planet's internal energy. You feel the aerodynamic grace of these clouds, a movement of gas that is as fluid and beautiful as the current of a river. Saturn is a world of endless motion, a sphere that is constantly being redecorated by the wind, and the quiet holds. You move to the moon Ganymede, focusing on its internal structure, which includes a metallic core, a rocky mantle, and a deep global ocean sandwiched between layers of ice. This ice sandwich is a unique geological arrangement where high-pressure ice forms a solid floor for a sea of liquid water. You feel the weight of these layers, a structure of immense depth and complexity. Ganymede is a moon that behaves like a planet, possessing its own magnetic field and its own internal heat. It is a giant among moons, a world that commands its own small kingdom in the shadow of Jupiter. Model of Ganymede's interior showing the layers of ice and water. The current flows, without effort. Beyond the Kuiper belt, you encounter the scattered disk once more, but this time you focus on the object Sedna, which moves in an orbit so long it takes 11,000 years to return to the Sun. Its path is a giant, elongated ellipse that leads it far out into the frozen dark, almost to the inner edge of the Oort cloud. You see Sedna as a deep red world, its surface coated in the organic dust of the stars. You feel the immense loneliness of this journey, a path that takes it further from the light than almost any other known world. Sedna is a pioneer of the deep, a world that bridges the gap between the known system and the unknown void, and the quiet deepens. Now you observe the solar corona during a total eclipse, seeing the ghostly white streamers of plasma that extend millions of miles into space. These streamers are shaped by the sun's magnetic field, creating a delicate floral pattern that glows with a cool, ethereal light. You see the prominences, giant loops of fire that rise from the surface and hang in the corona for days at a time. You feel the silent power of these structures, a movement of matter and energy that is both violent and beautiful. The corona is the sun's outer atmosphere, a place where the fire of the star meets the cold of the dark. Still, the universe breathes. You drift toward the Earth-Moon barycenter, the point in space around which both the Earth and the Moon orbit. This point is located just beneath the surface of the Earth, a hidden anchor that keeps the two worlds locked in their eternal dance. You see the way the Earth wobbles slightly as it follows this center, a movement that is answered by the Moon's own path. You feel the connection between these two masses, a bond of gravity that is as strong and invisible as a steel cable. It is a partnership of motion, a shared journey through the silent deep. The rhythm of the deep endures. In the rings of Saturn, you see the propeller features, small double-winged gaps in the ice created by the gravity of tiny moons hidden within the rings. These propellers are a visual sign of the shepherding process, where small bodies use their gravity to clear paths and create structure within the debris. You see the ice particles being pushed and pulled into elegant, aerodynamic shapes. You feel the subtlety of this influence, a small world making its mark on a vast sea of ice. It is a reminder that in the solar system, every mass has a voice, and every motion has a meaning, and everything softens. You move your focus to the magnetosphere of Jupiter, sensing the Io flux tube, a massive current of millions of amps that flows between the Moon and the planet. This electrical connection is powered by the volcanic eruptions on Io, which fill the magnetic field with charged particles. You see the auroral footprint on Jupiter's north pole, where the flux tube touches down and paints the sky in a brilliant ultraviolet glow. You feel the energy of this circuit, a celestial battery that has been running for billions of years. It is a connection of pure power, a bridge of light and electricity in the dark. The rhythm continues. Beyond the planets, you encounter the Eris Dysnomia system again, noticing how the small moon keeps the dwarf planet in a state of stable rotation. Because there is no atmosphere to drag against them, their orbits are perfectly preserved, a clockwork motion that has repeated without change since the beginning of time. You see the stars of the Milky Way as a solid wall of light behind them, a backdrop of infinite depth. You feel the profound serenity of this distance, a place where the noise of the sun is a distant memory, and the silence is the only law, and the quiet holds. You observe the asteroid Bennu, a small, diamond-shaped world that is a rubble pile of rocks held together only by their own weak gravity. Its surface is a jumbled landscape of boulders and dust, a fragment of a larger world that was shattered in an ancient collision. You see, the way the sunlight causes the rocks to expand and contract, occasionally popping off the surface like popcorn. You feel the fragility of this world, a structure that is barely a world at all, but a collection of memories. Bennu is a time capsule of the early system, a small stone with a long and complex story. The current flows without effort. Now you focus on the solar constant again, but this time you sense it as a pressure, a gentle wind of photons that pushes against the sails of distant spacecraft. This light pressure is a real and measurable force, a reminder that the sun's energy is not just a source of heat, but a source of momentum. You see the interplanetary dust being pushed outward by this pressure, creating a clean and empty space near the sun. You feel the persistence of this push, a light that never stops, a force that reaches to the very edge of the dark, and the quiet deepens. You drift toward the moon Triton again, noticing the nitrogen frost that forms on its night side, only to evaporate again as the moon turns toward the sun. This volatile migration is a seasonal cycle that reshapes the surface every few hundred years, covering the old craters with a fresh layer of white snow. You see the plumes of dark material being carried by the wind, creating long, dark streaks across the bright plains. You feel the slow, rhythmic breathing of this world, a cycle of frost and fire that moves with a graceful and unhurried pace. Still, the universe breathes. Finally, you return to the sunspots, those dark, cool islands on the sun's surface where the magnetic field is strongest. You see them as pits of shadow in a sea of gold, moving slowly as the sun rotates once every 25 days. Each spot is a site of intense magnetic energy, a place where flares and eruptions are born. You feel the tension in these regions, a coiled spring of magnetism waiting to be released. They are the visible signs of the sun's internal life, a star that is as active and complex as any planet, and everything rests. As you conclude this circuit of the outer reaches, you feel the immense structural stability of the system. From the smallest rubble pile asteroid to the largest gas giant, everything is held in a state of perfect, enduring balance. The solar system is a cathedral of light and gravity, a place where every movement is a song and every silence is a prayer. You are part of this harmony, a small observer in a vast and beautiful theater. You can drift now into the deeper dark, knowing that the rhythm of the stars will always be there to guide you home. The current flows without effort. The rhythm continues as you settle your mind upon the Kuiper Belt's most elongated traveler, the dwarf planet Varuna. It is a world of dark, water-rich ice, spinning so rapidly that its shape has been pulled into a flattened spheroid, like a stone smoothed by a river. You feel the momentum of this rotation, a steady humming in the dark that has persisted since the system was young. The starlight here is thin and cold, reflecting off the complex organic molecules that give the surface its deep brownish hue. You feel the immense distance between this world and the sun, a gap so vast that the light takes hours to cross it. Yet the gravitational tether remains as firm and certain as ever, and still it turns. You move your focus to the inner Oort cloud, also known as the Hills cloud, where the transition from the flat disk of the planets to the spherical shell of the deep begins. Here the objects move in orbits that are tilted at every imaginable angle, creating a chaotic but stable halo of ice. You see these cometary nuclei as silent, frozen seeds, holding the water and the chemistry of the nebula in a state of perfect preservation. You feel the peace of this storage, a vast library of ice that surrounds us in every direction. It is a boundary of transition, a place where the sun's reach begins to blur into the collective gravity of the neighboring stars. The current flows without effort. Now, you turn back to the giant planet Jupiter, focusing on its interior transition, where the gaseous atmosphere gives way to the sea of liquid metallic hydrogen. In this deep, pressurized realm, the hydrogen behaves like a flowing metal, swirling in massive currents that generate the planet's intense magnetic field. You feel the weight of the world above you, a crushing embrace that transforms the most basic element into a conductive fluid. There is no solid ground here, only a gradual thickening of the matter, a seamless change of state that represents the fluid nature of the cosmos. It is a world of pure physics, a place where pressure is the primary architect of form, and the quiet holds. You observe the spokes in Saturn's B ring again, noticing how they rotate almost synchronously with the planet's magnetic field, rather than the orbital speed of the ice particles. These ghostly radial streaks are made of fine dust lifted by static electricity, a flickering presence that appears and disappears with the seasons. You see them as shadows moving across the brilliance of the rings, a reminder that electromagnetism is always at work alongside gravity. You feel the delicacy of these features, a temporary decoration on the most magnificent structure in the system. They are the fingerprints of the planet's magnetic heart, left upon a canvas of ice. The rhythm of the deep endures. Next, you drift toward the Moon, Miranda, the smallest and innermost of Uranus's major satellites. Its surface is a jumbled patchwork of different terrains, huge canyons, ridged plains, and the famous chevron, a bright, V-shaped feature that looks like a scar from a violent past. You see the Verona Rupes, a cliff that is the tallest in the solar system, dropping 5 miles into the frozen dark. You feel the jagged, broken nature of this moon, a world that may have been shattered and reassembled multiple times by the tides of its parent. It is a testament to the resilience of matter, a sphere that has found a new harmony after every disruption, and life adjusts once more. You focus on the Lagrangian points of the Earth-Sun system, specifically L2, where the James Webb Space Telescope sits in a perpetual shadow. This point is a balance of forces, a pocket of stability, 1,000,000 miles away from the warmth of the home world. You see the telescope as a golden flower of mirrors, facing the cold dark of the universe while shielding itself from the sun's heat. You feel the quiet of this location, a place designed for observation and reflection, where the noise of the Earth is a distant echo. It is a modern temple of science, held in the unmoving hands of gravity and light. Still, the universe breathes. Beyond the giants, you encounter the resonant Kuiper Belt objects that share a 2.1 relationship with Neptune, known as two Tinos. For every 2 orbits Neptune completes, these worlds complete. Exactly 1, tracing a path that keeps them in a perpetual, rhythmic lock. You see the geometry of these orbits as a series of loops that never intersect, a mathematical ballet performed in the deep freeze of the outer system. You feel the reliability of this motion, a cycle that ensures these worlds are never disturbed by the giant's massive pull. It is the music of the spheres expressed in the slow movement of ice and time. The current flows, without effort. You watch the solar wind as it reaches the termination shock, noticing how the particles suddenly slow down and become hotter as they hit the interstellar gas. This creates a region of compressed plasma called the Helios Heath, a turbulent buffer zone that protects the system from the high-energy cosmic rays of the galaxy. You see the magnetic bubbles that form here, huge structures millions of miles wide that act as filters for the incoming particles. You feel the protection of this bubble, a layer of the sun's influence that extends far beyond the last planet. It is the outer wall of our sanctuary, a boundary made of light and magnetism, and the quiet deepens. Now, you turn toward the moon, Enceladus once more, noticing how its tiger stripes, the 4 great fractures at the South Pole, glow with internal heat in the infrared. You see the salt-rich ice grains being ejected from these cracks, proving that the subterranean ocean is in direct contact with a rocky, mineral-rich core. This moon is a world of chemical activity and thermal energy, a small spark of potential in the cold shadow of Saturn. You feel the warmth of these vents as a gentle pulse, a sign that the conditions for life can exist even in the most remote corners of the system. The rhythm continues. You observe the binary system of the asteroids Patroclus and Menoetius, two stones of nearly equal size that orbit each other as they follow Jupiter's path. They are Jupiter Trojans, remnants of the original material that formed the giant planets, now held in a permanent, mutual embrace. You see them as a single entity, a pair that has stayed together for 4 billion years, never straying from their shared center of gravity. You feel the loyalty of this bond, a connection that has survived the migrations and collisions of the early system. It is a partnership of stone, a silent dialogue between two ancient travelers. And everything softens. Now, you focus on the solar corona again, but this time you notice the spicules, thousands of tiny grass-like jets of plasma that rise and fall every few minutes. They cover the sun's surface in a fine moving texture, transferring energy and matter into the higher layers of the atmosphere. You see the sun not as a solid ball, but as a living, breathing forest of fire, constantly renewing itself through these small, rhythmic eruptions. You feel the vitality of this process, a movement of energy that is as steady and reliable as the ticking of a clock. The sun is a magnificent, self-sustaining engine of light. The current flows without effort. You drift toward the Earth's ionosphere, the upper layer of the atmosphere, where the sun's radiation strips electrons from the gas atoms, creating a sea of charged particles. This layer reflects radio waves back to the ground, allowing us to communicate across the curve of the planet. You see the auroras dancing within this layer, their green and red curtains following the invisible lines of the Earth's magnetic field. You feel the thinness of this air, a place where the world of stone and water ends and the world of light and plasma begins. It is a delicate, glowing boundary, a halo of electricity that surrounds our home, and the quiet holds. In the asteroid belt, you see the families, groups of asteroids that share similar orbits and compositions because they are the fragments of a single larger world that was shattered long ago. The Flora family, the Vesta family, the Eos family, each is a collection of memories, a cloud of debris that still follows the path of its parent. You feel the unity of these fragments, a persistence of identity that survives even the most violent destruction. The belt is not a random collection of rocks, but a structured archive of the system's history. Every stone is a piece of a larger story, waiting to be remembered. The rhythm of the deep endures. You move to the moon Triton, focusing on its thin atmosphere of nitrogen and methane, which is constantly being replenished by the geysers at the South Pole. Even though the pressure is tiny, it is enough to create high-altitude winds that carry the dark dust across the frozen plains. You see the diamond frost that forms on the mountain peaks, a crystalline layer that reflects the dim sunlight with a cold, pure brilliance. You feel the extreme fragility of this environment, a world where a slight change in temperature can turn the solid ground into a gas. It is a place of crystalline peace, a blue-tinted dream at the edge of the world, and everything rests. As you look back toward the inner system, you see the ecliptic plane as a flat, dusty disk, where the majority of the system's mass is concentrated. This plane is the ghost of the original nebula, the flat surface on which the planets were born and where they have stayed for billions of years. You see the planets as bright beads on a string, all following the same level path around the central star. You feel the stability of this geometry, a two-dimensional stage on which a three-dimensional drama unfolds. It is the foundation of our local order, a plane of symmetry that defines our place in the dark. Still, the universe breathes. You observe the sun's differential rotation, where the equator of the sun rotates faster than the poles, causing the magnetic field lines to wind up and tangle like a ball of yarn. This winding is what leads to the creation of sunspots and flares, a rhythmic build-up and release of energy. You see the magnetic loops emerging from the surface, glowing with the heat of the trapped plasma. You feel the tension of this process, a slow, magnetic breathing that defines the 11-year solar cycle. It is a cycle of renewal, a star that is constantly reweaving its own magnetic fabric. The rhythm continues. You drift toward the moon. Callisto again, but this time you notice the Asgard impact structure, a series of concentric rings that cover thousands of miles of the icy surface. Unlike the deep craters of the inner planets, these rings are flat and soft, the result of the ancient ice flowing like liquid after a massive impact. You see the light of the stars reflecting off the smooth, frozen ridges, creating a pattern of light and shadow that looks like a target drawn on the world. You feel the antiquity of this feature, a scar that has been preserved in the ice since the late heavy bombardment, and life adjusts once more. Beyond Neptune, you see the cold, classical Kuiper belt objects, which have nearly circular orbits and very low inclinations. They are the most pristine objects in the solar system, never having been disturbed by the gravity of the giant planets. You see them as small reddish stones, their surfaces rich in the complex organics that were present at the very beginning. You feel the peace of these orbits, a state of deep primordial stillness that has never been broken. They are the quiet elders of the system, the silent guardians of our most ancient history. The current flows without effort. Now, you turn toward the magnetosphere of Saturn again, focusing on the Saturnian kilometric radiation, a rhythmic radio signal that pulses with the rotation of the planet's magnetic field. This signal is the voice of the planet, a humming in the radio spectrum that can be heard across millions of miles of vacuum. You see the plasma in the magnetosphere, moving in sync with this pulse, a rhythmic swaying of charged particles. You feel the consistency of this signal, a cosmic heartbeat that provides a sense of time and direction in the deep. It is the sound of the giant's breath, translated into the language of light, and the quiet deepens. You watch the moon Iapetus once more, noticing the frost migration as it happens in real time. On the dark side, the temperature rises just enough for the water molecules to lift off the surface and travel toward the poles and the bright side, where they freeze once. Again, this is a global system of transport, a movement of matter driven by the gentle warmth of a distant sun. You see the thin, invisible mist of water vapor moving across the dark plains, a ghost of an atmosphere that only exists to move from one place to another. You feel the patience of this process, a world that is slowly refining itself over the eons. Still, the universe breathes. You focus on the asteroid Vesta again, sensing the planetary differentiation that occurred when the world was still young and molten. You see the iron core at the center, the heavy silicate mantle, and the lighter basaltic crust on the surface. This layering is the mark of a world that was on its way to becoming a planet before its growth was stunted. You feel the weight of this history, a world that is a bridge between the simple stones and the complex worlds. Vesta is a fragment of a lost future, a silent, stony sphere that tells us how the Earth began. The rhythm continues. You observe the solar wind as it flows past the Earth, noticing the magnetotail that stretches millions of miles behind our planet like a windsock. This tail is a reservoir of magnetic energy, which occasionally snaps and sends particles rushing back toward the poles, creating the most brilliant auroras. You see the field lines stretching and breaking in a silent magnetic drama. You feel the connection between our world and the sun, a relationship of energy and protection that is constantly being renegotiated. It is a dance of forces, a balance of power in the middle of the dark, and the quiet holds. You drift through the scattered disk once more, noticing how the object Eris moves in an orbit that takes it far above and below the plane of the other planets. This high inclination is the result of an ancient encounter with Neptune, which flung the world into its current wild path. You see Eris as a lonely pioneer, exploring the empty high country of the solar system, where the stars are the only companions. You feel the independence of this world, a sphere that has found its own way to exist at the very edge of the sun's influence. Eris is a world of the deep, a white spark in the infinite. The rhythm of the deep endures. Now you turn back to the sun, watching a coronal rain event where cooled plasma falls back toward the surface along the magnetic field lines. This rain falls in massive glowing droplets, moving at hundreds of miles per hour through the hot atmosphere. You see the light of the sun shining through these droplets, creating a visual effect that looks like waterfalls of fire. You feel the cycle of this matter, rising as hot gas, cooling into rain, and falling back to the surface to be heated once more. It is a closed system of energy, a star that recycles its own fire in a never-ending loop, and everything softens. You focus on the lunar regolith, the fine grey dust that covers the entire surface of the moon. This dust is the result of billions of years of micrometeorite impacts, which have ground the volcanic rock into a silken, glassy powder. You see the footprints of the astronauts, still perfectly preserved in a vacuum where there is no wind to blow them away. You feel the stillness of this dust, a material that records every touch and every impact with perfect clarity. The moon is a world of memory, a place where the past is etched into the very ground you stand on. The current flows, without effort. Finally, you return to the heliopause, one last time, sensing the bow shock that the solar system creates as it moves through the interstellar medium. This shock is like the wave at the front of a ship, a compression of gas and magnetism that marks our progress through the galaxy. You see the solar system as a single unified entity, a bubble of light and order traveling through the vastness of the Milky Way. You feel the momentum of this journey, a movement that has been continuing for billions of years and will continue for billions more. We are a part of a grand, cosmic voyage, protected by the sun and guided by the stars, and the quiet deepens. As you finish this part of the journey, you feel a sense of profound, structural peace. Everything is in its place, moving according to the laws of physics and the rhythm of time. The solar system is a vast, beautiful, and stable home, a place of light and shadow, heat and cold, motion and stillness. You are part of this system, a small observer in a grand, celestial. The quiet of the vacuum is not empty. It is filled with the music of the spheres and the language of the stars. You can rest now, knowing that the universe is holding you in its ancient, gravitational embrace. Still, the universe breathes. The rhythm continues as we drift toward the very threshold of the solar kingdom, where the sun's light is no longer a warm touch, but a distant, brilliant memory. You observe the Oort cloud in its full spherical majesty, a silent vault of 1 trillion icy worlds that wraps our system in a protective cocoon of frost. Each comet here is a sleeper, a silent witness to the dawn of the planets, holding within its frozen core the same water that fills our oceans and the same carbon that builds our lives. You feel the immense, cathedral-like peace of this place, where the sun's gravity is a gentle whisper, just strong enough to keep these ancient travelers from drifting away into the starlight. And still, it turns. You move your focus to the interstellar boundary explorer, sensing how it maps the invisible frontier where the solar wind meets the galactic wind. Here, a ribbon of high-energy atoms glows in the ultraviolet, a structure created by the interaction of our system's magnetic field with the local interstellar medium. You see this ribbon as a luminous path, a trail left by our sun as it moves through the neighborhood of other stars. You feel the motion of our entire system as a slow, purposeful journey through the Milky Way, a voyage that takes 250 million years to complete a single circle. We are nomads of the galaxy, carrying our light and our order with us through the dark. The current flows without effort. Now you turn back to the inner worlds, noticing how the Earth's magnetosphere vibrates with the rhythm of the solar wind, like a bell being struck by a soft, persistent hand. This vibration is a symphony of plasma and magnetism, a soundless music that ripples through the upper atmosphere and creates the shimmering curtains of the aurora. You see the light of these auroras as a reflection of the sun's own energy, transformed by our planet's shield into a display of silent, emerald beauty. You feel the protection of this field, a resilient and invisible cradle that ensures the air you breathe remains still and safe, and the quiet deepens. You observe the moon's libration, the subtle rocking and nodding motion that allows us to see slightly more than half of its surface over time. This movement is a result of the moon's elliptical orbit and its steady, locked rotation, a graceful swaying that reveals the hidden edges of the lunar far side. You see the Mare Orientale, a massive, multi-ringed impact basin on the moon's western edge, looking like a target carved into the grey stone. You feel the rhythm of this swaying, a slow and heavy motion that has been observed by every generation of life on Earth. It is the moon's own breathing, a cycle of visibility and shadow. The rhythm of the deep endures. Beyond Mars, you encounter the asteroid 16 Psyche again, sensing its metallic surface as a mirror for the history of the early system. Some believe it is the core of a protoplanet that lost its rocky shell in a series of violent collisions, leaving behind a world of pure iron and nickel. You feel the density of this metal, a weight that speaks of the intense pressure and heat found in the hearts of planets. It is a world of silver grey, ridges and metallic dust, a silent monument to the building blocks of the terrestrial worlds. Psyche is a skeleton of a world, a reminder that underneath the stone of every planet lies a heart of fire and metal, and life adjusts once more. You focus on the great white spot of Saturn as it begins to fade, its ammonia clouds dissipating into the golden haze of the planet's atmosphere. This storm, which occurs once every Saturnian year, is a release of internal energy that clears the air and redefines the planet's cloud patterns for decades to come. You see the long, wispy remnants of the storm wrapping around the northern hemisphere like a silken scarf. You feel the exhaustion of this event, a giant exhaling after a moment of intense activity. Saturn returns to its state of serene, banded perfection, a world that values symmetry and grace above all else. Still, the universe breathes. You move to the ice giant Neptune, observing the methane crystals that form in its upper atmosphere, reflecting the sunlight with a deep sapphire brilliance. These crystals act as a filter, absorbing the red light and allowing only the blue to escape, giving the planet its characteristic oceanic hue. You see the scooter cloud again, its white, wispy form racing against the azure background at speeds that defy imagination. You feel the cold energy of this world, a place where the wind is a movement of pure momentum, and the clouds are made of frozen gas. Neptune is a blue sentinel. At the edge of the void, a world of aerodynamic peace. The current flows without effort. Now, you turn toward the Pluto-Charon system, sensing the barycentric motion, as the two worlds orbit a point in the empty space between them. Because they are so close in mass, they act as a double planet, locked in a permanent mutual embrace where they always face each other. You see the red plains of Pluto and the dark grey canyons of Charon as they dance in the dim light of the distant sun. You feel the stability of this bond, a partnership that has remained unchanged since the system's birth. It is a state of perfect, orbital equilibrium, a dialogue of ice and gravity performed in the deep, and the quiet holds. You observe the solar constant once more, but now you see it as a flux, a steady river of photons that flows through the transparent ocean of the vacuum. This flux is the heartbeat of the solar system, providing the energy that drives the weather on Earth, the geysers on Triton, and the chemistry on Titan. You feel this energy as a soft, persistent warmth, a golden thread that connects every atom in the system to the central star. The sun is a magnificent, unhurried giver, shedding its light into the dark so that the worlds may turn in beauty. It is the primary anchor of our reality, the source of all order. The rhythm continues. In the atmosphere of Jupiter, you see the brown barges dissolving and the white ovals merging, a constant restructuring of the planet's face. These movements are the result of the immense heat rising from the interior, a convection that keeps the planet in a state of perpetual, fluid motion. You see the zonal flows, the powerful jet streams that move in opposite directions, creating the sharp boundaries between the colorful bands. You feel the majesty of this motion, a world that is always changing but always remains the same. Jupiter is a giant of consistency, a world where the storm is the law and the wind is the truth, and everything softens. Now, you drift toward the Earth's terminator again, watching as the sun sets over the Pacific Ocean, casting a long golden path across the water. You see the atmosphere acting as a prism, bending the light to create the green flash, a brief emerald spark that appears at the very last moment of the day. This is the Earth's own signature of light, a small miracle caused by the density of the air and the curve of the horizon. You feel the peace of this transition, the movement from the noise of the day to the quiet of the night. It is a moment of terrestrial grace, a return to the safety of the shadows. The rhythm of the deep endures. Beyond the Kuiper belt, you encounter the sednoids, a group of distant objects that follow orbits so large they never come near the giant planets. These worlds are the detached members of the system, held by a gravity that seems to come from the stars themselves. You see Sedna as a deep crimson sphere, its surface frozen into a state of absolute crystalline stillness. You feel the immense, silent weight of its 11,000-year orbit, a journey so long that it transcends the history of human thought. Sedna is a world of the deep future, a traveler that remembers the beginning and waits for the end. Still, the universe breathes. You focus on the solar corona one last time, watching the streamers as they stretch out like ghostly fingers into the dark. These streamers are the outermost reaches of the sun's atmosphere, a place where the fire of the star finally becomes the wind of the system. You see the light of the stars shining through this plasma, a thin and ethereal veil that marks the boundary of the solar home. You feel the silence of this transition, a movement from the intense heat of the core to the absolute cold of the vacuum. The sun is a star of many layers, a sphere of fire wrapped in a cloak of light, and life adjusts once more. You observe the asteroid series as it moves through the asteroid belt, its bright spots in a crater glowing like twin eyes in the dark. These spots are the minerals left behind by an ancient, briny ocean that once reached the surface, a sign that the dwarf planet still holds a secret, internal warmth. You feel the solidity of this world, a dense heart of rock and ice that has survived the chaos of the system's early years. Ceres is a queen among stones, a world of hidden water and quiet potential, orbiting in a state of perfect mathematical grace. The current flows without effort. Now, you return to your own breath, feeling how it matches the slow, rhythmic turning of the planets. The gravity that holds the Earth in its path is the same gravity that allows you to rest deeply in your bed. The light that warms the red dust of Mars is the same light that once filled your day. You are a part of this ancient and beautiful architecture, a participant in a cosmic dance that has no beginning and no end. You are safe, anchored in a system of light and order, protected by the silence and the stars, and the quiet deepens. You see the zodiacal light one last time, a faint, triangular glow that rises from the horizon after sunset. This light is the reflection of the sun off the dust of the solar system, a visible sign of the connection between the worlds. It is a silken veil of light that connects the Earth to the sun and the planets to each other. You feel the peace of this connection, a realization that we are never truly alone in the dark, but part of a vast, glowing web of matter and energy. The solar system is a single, breathing entity, a home made of gravity and grace. The rhythm continues. As the journey through the science of sleep comes to its conclusion, you feel the immense, structural stability of the universe. From the smallest grain of stardust to the massive heart of the sun, everything is in its place, moving according to the laws of motion and the rhythm of time. The quiet of the vacuum is not an emptiness, but a fullness, a silence that holds the music of the spheres and the language of the stars. You can drift now into the deeper dark, knowing that the sun will always rise and the planets will always turn, and everything rests. Every night holds another wonder. You can return any time to drift through the science of sleep. The stories continue, softly unfolding across the universe, waiting for you to witness them once more. Thank you for resting here tonight. Your presence keeps this circle of calm alive. If your eyes remain open, another journey awaits. But if sleep arrives, you are already home, and silence follows.